Hey there. This is a super long episode already, so I will get the intro done very quick. We would like to thank Aaron Green, Corey Butler, Banshee Beat, Eric Jedrazak, and Bree Girth. All of these people have gone to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and supported this show and others like it on our network. Once again, that is patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are continuing our discussion of Disco Elysium, which is a computer role-playing game. And it's a very big game, a very dense game.
It's dense, big, good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big, delicious thing that
is dense and good.
Dense and good, like some kind of good, dense, good cake. It's good.
Yes.
It's cake.
You know, I've been rolling it around in my head ever since I finished it and since we talked last week.
Yeah. And I every time I pick up another video game, I'm like, why am I not playing Disco Elysium?
Yeah. Like, I've seen most of the stuff that's there, but Disco Elysium's very good.
Yeah. It'd be fun to see it again.
Yeah.
You know, I keep me and Will keep. It's like they don't make good video games about plumbers who jump on things. They make good video games about drunk detectives who solve crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what they do.
That's what they do. That's all there is nowadays.
Yeah, this is a sea change game. It's like Dark Souls or what have you. Like it's gonna be hard for a little bit to go back to things that especially like in this genre. I think that the next time I play, the next big CRPG I play for fun is going to have to be Torment.
So you can titrate down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and it's been, I'm due for a Torment playthrough and they put it on Switch and such. Mm-hmm. But then, next time I play when I finally get around to Pillars of Eternity 2, like, I think that game is good. Like, I bet that's supposed to be really good. It's supposed to be better than the first one, but y'all enjoy it. It's going to be a little rough. Mm-hmm. Just a little rough going because of the long shadow.
Yeah, I mean, especially in a game that is, that has a large narrative component.
Yeah. That Witcher 3 factor as well. Mm-hmm. Like how it was hard for a little while to go back to things after that.
Yep.
It's nice. It's a blessing.
Yeah. This is continuing. We should probably say this episode is also executive produced by Chicken Riggies, by Jack. Mm-hmm. We said that last time, but bears repeating here. That we are playing this because of a Patreon backer.
Yeah. We're past the generalities. We are going to be talking about, the rest of the game in detail, full spoilers. Mm-hmm. And we're going to try to keep up a little bit of a pace just so we're not here until we're dead. Because, again, it's very dense. And there's a lot of stuff, I don't want to give any of it short shrift because it's cool. Mm-hmm. The other thing that is the blanket caveat is that I went through and I watched on YouTube a bunch of the stuff I wasn't able to get to fire.
Yep.
There's some things I still have not seen.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be all inclusive, and something that came out in the discussions around the first episode in the Slack that it probably applies to people who are not in the Slack who are listening. But this is a game that is rich with exclusive content.
Yeah.
So anything, for example, we surmise possibly that you cannot get into the doors in the Whirling and Rags, and you 100% can.
Oh.
A bunch of people told us this. So just know that it is a thing where every playthrough is going to be a little bit different of this in a way that is really neat.
Yeah.
So if we talk about something that we got, you didn't get, hey, cool. But if we say hey, we didn't know we can get into that, we didn't make those die rolls, man.
Right.
It's all random. It's the game hides tons of its light under a bushel. Like the comparison I thought of was it would be like if Dark Souls was 60% the painted world of Ariamis.
Yeah.
Like tons of just really cool encounters that are totally optional.
Yeah, just away in the corners. Like I never found the man who is so rich that light bends around him.
I found him and couldn't make the check, so I ended up watching that on YouTube. But I just did not have the stats to open the door. You know?
Yeah.
So
where's he at? Like what door is he behind?
He's in the. I'll definitely talk about that because it's an amazing encounter. He's in a shipping container. He travels that way because people of low net worth oftentimes flock people who have high net worth, so he avoids them.
Gotcha.
It's nice and private because basically he would be torn apart for being a triple digit billionaire.
Right.
But what an incredible idea. It's also in the same way that Disco Elysium, you never know what is real and what is not. Kim does not see him as light bending around him. Like it is your specific, Inland Empire-ness that allows you to see that effect. But it is pretty incredible. The idea of getting so wealthy that like
the
physics no longer work. Yeah, physics no longer work.
Yeah, you are a black
extremely
hole.
Grant Morrison idea.
Yeah.
Really, really good. It's a great encounter.
Yeah.
So let's get started. We're gonna get through everything we can in this episode. This is either gonna be one really long second episode. If we have to break it up just for funzos, we will, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's do it. So the last episode we covered basically everything that most things that plausibly could happen on the first day. There are a few things here that we're going to get to that are possible to get to on the first day, but we ran out of time in that first episode. But the first 3 days are pretty big for like in the morning something new is opened up for you.
Yeah, specifically the first 3 days.
Yeah.
After that, new incident kind of slows down. We talked about this last episode. I think the time limit is 10 days in this. If you are still listening to this and you haven't played it, don't rush.
Yeah.
I wish that I had taken it a little slower because I felt an urgency of time. Also, just real quick, Pocket's okay. If anybody is worried about these emergency meows, I'm moving, so I'm packing, and he's really anxious about it.
Yeah.
But that is what's going on with his little yelps. He's not under duress. I'm not like, showing him pictures of his, trying to get him to remember his parents and stuff. I'm not psychologically torturing him on the side.
No. I can vouch. Gary takes very good care of Pocket.
Yeah, I love Pocket very much. He's just that boy ain't right.
Yeah.
So you begin day 2, and like every time you go to sleep, you have these kind of like arguments, like in your sleep. Like we talked about the dreams you had, but when you wake up in this day, you end up having an argument between your volition and your electrochemistry. Basically about speed. Like volition is your willpower saying you do not need more speed. Electrochemistry is saying, oh, we very much need more speed. Having a little bit of speed in your system was the only thing that got you through yesterday.
Right. Yeah. And this led me to believe that there would be more of a withdrawal system in the game, but there actually isn't. There's not really a downside to being a teetotaler, to being a straight edge cop in this.
Yeah, I was 100% a straight edge cop. The only thing it takes in the game to get clean is not wanting to disappoint Kim. And that's really powerful.
Yes.
I don't know where else to put this because it's not related to a thing. Did you ever insist on Kim telling you a secret?
You know what? I think that I tried once and he put up a resistance, and then I couldn't find where to talk to him to get him to say it again.
If you insist, so I went through in an old save and played a bunch between last time we recorded and this time. If you insist on giving him a secret, he raises an eyebrow and you physically can't speak because his authority skill is supernatural.
Okay.
Like he just holds an eyebrow there going, yes, you were going to say something, and you can't speak in the face of his eyebrow because it's too discouraging. Very good.
That's extremely good. Yeah.
God damn it. So we meet up with Kim. This happens every morning. He's waiting outside of wherever you happen to sleep. And the big difference with this day is that the Union Toughs, the Hardy Boys, are now in their like specific section of the restaurant.
Yes. He says, hey, these are the guys who act like the police. The union uses them to basically enforce whatever authority they need to. So, you can decide, do you want to go talk to them now, or do you want to do a power play by walking past them and coming back to them later?
Yeah, suggestion will tell you to do that.
So that's a possibility. Also, down here, something that is new is Lena, the cryptozoologist's wife. She is here. She's talking to our cafeteria manager, Gart, a.k.a. the Kickstarter backer guy. She wants to use the phone, but there is no phone for her to use. The one here, the line went down. And the only functional phone in all of Martinet is in the Union.
Yeah. See, they actually mentioned there's one across, down the coast as well.
Oh, yeah.
When you're talking to, I can't remember the name, the lady who quit the restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Because of you.
Sylvie.
You can learn a little bit about Sylvie. You can learn about the number of functioning phones on the island.
Yes.
But regardless, she wants this because she was waiting for her husband. You can talk to her, and she says, okay, well, I'll stay a little bit longer waiting for him. He's looking for something called the Insulidian phasmid, which is a crypto animal in this nearby fishing village. And you can say, hey, I can help him. I can find him. Kim doesn't like this. Ultimately, he does.
Yep.
Again, in the way that Kim secretly doesn't like it. And boy, in no universe did I think this would be as important. As it was to the emotional core of this game.
The way that this pays off at the very end is shocking to me.
It's the stuff of legends.
Yeah.
It is, it's really incredible stuff. So one of the people we can mention to you, if we head outside, we can run out by the apartment. We can see there is this young woman who is kind of dressed in as an old woman, like rags and such. This is Cindy the Skull. She's kind of a punk, and she's working on graffiti.
Yes.
At this point behind the apartment building.
Yeah. They're painting in this bright red substance that actually turns out to be the fuel that is used in the RCP's cars. It is used to specifically identify when fuel has been stolen. But she is up there, and she's shouting on you. She's working on this stuff. You can have a conversation with her. There's a big blank wall that you can examine, that if your conceptualization is high enough, you can make your own graffiti on there. My conceptualization was legendarily low. So I was not able to make that happen. Did that end up working out for you?
Nope. That is one of the few things I knew existed that I never got a chance to get fire.
Yeah.
To have fire. Kim just got annoyed that he's like, why must we always stop and look at this wall every time? And it's like, well, I'm sorry, man. I'm just trying to do video game stuff.
I'm fascinated by potential, Kim.
Yeah. We spot a guy who is out on the balcony of the apartment building, which overlooks the back of the hostel. We can talk to him. He is smoking. He is very queer coded. And when we talk to him, he gives a fake name, is Martin Martinez.
Yes.
And is really evasive and kind of suspicious. He dodges our questions, and he basically says, listen, I wasn't over there, or I wasn't really watching. That same night I had a Sunday friend over. And somebody else was also asking around the case. He won't stay outside. He'll go back in. But if you get a certain check, he'll eyeball towards a rock where you can find a key to the apartment complex.
Oh, okay.
Under it. And then you can go in there and pursue him and talk to him another time.
Nice. I got in by harassing an old woman who was sweeping in the back hallways. Yeah. I just rang the doorbell until she let me in.
He gives you the hint. He wants you in.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to be perceived as cooperating with the police, of course.
Yes. Don't want to be a snitch, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go up there. For me, it was only open on day 3, but it makes sense to kind of address this all at once because you don't get an awful lot of very important information for the case. But we do learn about the government here. So, you go up late at night and he really doesn't stick around. He just is here to have you meet up with his Sunday friend, who is actually an official. He is a bureaucrat with the coalition. His name is Charles Vildroon. And he is from the Institute of Price Stability. So we're going to talk to somebody who is of a true believer, a functionary, and a mouthpiece for Moral Intern.
Yeah. Yep. This is kind of giving, this is doing double duty, filling out the world and kind of one of those core philosophies of the game economically, and then also getting some really key information about the crime.
Yes.
This is where, it looks like a lynching, and they say that they witnessed it as a lynching, but it was in the dark and it was incredibly quiet. It started out with people hooting and hollering, and then when it actually got time to do the work, it got quiet.
Yeah.
If you press him at some point, he says it felt like a movie.
Yeah.
Which is a key piece of information you can use later for some detective shit.
Yeah. It was not a show the way that it would be if it was.
It was a different kind of show.
Yes.
It very much was a show, but it was a different kind of show.
Right. You can press him more for what he's doing here, and basically you're doing your "I'm a Martian, please explain basic stuff to me," to have him explain what he does, and he spouts out all of this, technocrat jargon about ensuring price stability, which ensures social stability. And Kim sums it up and says, basically, they make sure that the price of bread doesn't change.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
He knows the victim, or knew of the victim. This is one of the first places you can get the name. I don't think it's the first place, but Laylee is the nickname. It's somebody who used to get high and brag about the war crimes they committed. He is not into this. No drug use, no needful boasting, or needless boasting. And it's worth also noting, This dude is here to have sex with the smoking guy. Yes. This guy comes, all he's referred to as the Sunday friend, and the Sunday friend is the guy who comes around on Sunday to fuck.
Yes. Yeah. And it's implied that there is a very unseemly power dynamic about this, which is why it needs to be hush hush for the purposes here. But he doesn't provide much more information besides just descriptions of moral intern, which is, just this very Byzantine set of this very Byzantine house of cards of regulations that are propped up basically just to benefit a status quo and make sure nothing moves too quickly.
Yep, exactly. To make sure we never get to the kingdom of conscience. The important stuff is getting the details about the lynching, which will come up later when you're talking to Titus. You need to press these things about how eerily, staged it seemed.
Yes.
Because it turns out that was exactly what it was. We can go into the bookstore here. There's a bookstore just south of the hostel with this young girl standing out front, Anna. You can talk to her. You can see that her mom, Placence, owns the store and is forcing her to work outside in the cold. Right. Basically, for kind of hyper capitalist reasons. This is, she's not being kept in school, she's being kept out of school. She is working, and it's horrible. So you can stop this. You can convince her mom to put her back in school. Yeah. And, or at least let her stay inside and home study.
So she won't be freezing at the very least. Yeah. If you have a high enough empathy, you can determine by talking to the daughter that she feels incredibly pressured. She feels like her mom's business failing is on her because her mom is making it about her. And then you go in and talk to the mother, and you find out that the mother has basically felt tremendously pressured by every man in her life, by her husband and by her father specifically. Yeah. For why this business in a place where everything fails is failing. It's being made into a personal responsibility thing for her. And she very, very firmly believes that this place has an actual honest to God curse on it.
Yeah. Yep. This is starting a pretty lengthy side quest called the Failed Business District. Which is really well observed. You understand how they're in your town, there's a place where it's constantly turning over. Yeah. Nothing ever can get off the ground in this one location.
The restaurant in my hometown that was a Chi-Chi's, then a sushi restaurant, then a Chi-Chi's again.
Yeah, exactly. Chi-Chi's sandwich. Yep. This is also, it's worth just briefly chatting about the bookstore. You can get a lot of stuff here. You can buy a family board game here, which you can play with Kim, and you can insist, this will be good for the case, and he just ends up having fun. It's really sweet, and you can read a lot of books. Specifically, there's a couple of them that call out to you here. One, Well, it's actually later when you talk to the woman out front about the cockatoo thing.
Yeah.
But there's a book about the Pale. This is the first time I heard about the Pale. A book called A Walk Through the Pale.
Okay.
And this started that whole kind of quest line as it started talking about the Pale as kind of a quack remedy for things, which is really interesting as you learn more about
what it actually is.
And you can buy all kinds of like pulp novels here and such, and these will give you different thoughts. And reading is a way to pass the time if you want to do that intentionally. Otherwise, you can wait until 2 a.m. to read and time stops passing.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
there's also like a map you can buy here that initially seems like it's going to be useless, but ends up being necessary for the case later on.
Yeah.
Yep. So the storyline here proceeds when you try to open up these curtains at the back of the store, and Pleasance says, "Hey, don't go in. This building is cursed." My drama skill was sufficiently high enough to pretend to be a supernatural investigator, saying like, "Oh, yeah, no, you got yourself a curse here. I can go in here and see if we can get rid of that, get that taken care of for you."
I think there's 2 tacks. That's the way I got in as well. I think you can also go in just through like authority.
Okay.
And there's 2 tacks to get in there. But I basically said I would solve it. And she said that there's like a ghost. There's like some kind of spirit living in the heating system.
Yeah.
So I went through there, and you go back through the remains of these different businesses. A hairstylist, a gym, a taxidermist, a tailor, somebody makes skis, etc. The gym can unlock a memory because, spoiler, you used to be a gym teacher before you were a cop.
Yeah.
So if you pass a certain check on the gym stuff, you can kind of learn about that. And the kind of centerpiece of this is when you get upstairs and you find this weird computer and these chalkboards.
Yeah.
This kind of game studio where you learn about this group that was making a play-by-radio like tabletop game. Which is really interesting.
Yeah. And this is the developers kind of like stand-in for their own development process making this. You get a lot of details just kind of about just like the ways that development can go wrong here. So like you look at the schedule and you can pass a check to determine why they failed. Like, oh, like it wasn't actually like anything that, it wasn't the concepts. It wasn't the concept artists that made this fail. Like we had them. That's fine. It wasn't the writers. I love this line. It wasn't the writers with their panic attacks and 3-hour lunches, which as somebody who worked in creative services is absolutely true. That was one of the best. Well, that was one of the most well observed things about that kind of work in here. I love that.
Really, cool, well observed, neat details here. Near the end of development, one of the designers decided to include this far off area called the Valley of Heads, where 10,000 heads can be put on 10,000 headless constructs, each voiced by professional actors. And there's this list of possible combinations. It goes on forever. So you're talking about scope creep.
Yes. Yeah.
With this, they sent a version of this game off to compile, and they lost all the data.
Right.
There's no local backup that they had for the completed version. There's a computer here that you can turn on. Once you get a version of this data, you get a schedule data, and it actually radios into something. I was not expecting this to talk to somebody. I just thought it was a computer. It's very surreal.
Yeah.
And you do not have the passcode. And this is something that I wish I had known when I played the game, was that many of these quests will stretch over many days. You cannot get this passcode yet.
No.
It is a way later thing. So I banged my head against this for quite a while.
Yeah,
actually,
trying
to find this, and you cannot.
Yeah, this is tied to something that happens in the church, which you can't get to on day 2. Yeah.
Yep. Way later.
So you can go down into the basement, and you find a huge ice cream fridge shaped like a polar bear. This was where you hid the body, so you could inspect it more. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. There's a note on the front of it saying like, oh, a backup copy was supposed to be stored in here because there's some little brat who keeps on breaking in and trying to steal things. I just love how people just refer to Kuno as a force of nature in this neighborhood.
This neighborhood's all Kuno'd. We got to move. As we're heading through here, we can find the ice cream maker or the ice maker. This is incredibly hard to open. I unplugged it so it would thaw, and I had the tool, but I almost this was the main thing that I went back and did between last time we recorded and this recording was doing that end of that church quest line.
Oh, yeah?
And because I couldn't get this open. And again, that confidence of hiding stuff behind skills, that's really important. Like, you cannot do like a really major cosmological story beat in this game with really, really huge implications. And it's dependent on this die roll. Like, there's an immense amount of confidence in letting players not see the entire picture of this game that I think is really admirable and neat.
I'm curious to hear what was hidden behind that, because I didn't get this.
Okay. Yeah. I can talk about that when we start talking about the church.
Yeah. We can talk about that when we get there.
Yeah. It's all church stuff, but it was just very interesting. Like, because I kept trying, I had okay odds. I was just getting bad die rolls, and I was like, man, like, this is an honest game where it really is like, I have a 42% chance of seeing this huge amount of content.
Yeah.
You know, and you can try again, you can put points into it. And because I was just loading up an old save, I just YOLO'd and put like all my points into the thing to retry. Like, I just used every point as a retry. But if I hadn't done that, if I was actually playing for the long game, I wouldn't have got in. You know, so when I say take your time, that's one of the things I mean is like, I felt like a sense of urgency, but if I had waited until I got this to kind of complete the game, I would have gotten it, I think, naturally.
Yeah.
You know, just through getting more experience points and poking at more crevices and such. Also in this area, there is a bunker. You can see this little hidden passageway into a bunker where you can find all these rifles from the Revolution that are hidden here. Tons of guns.
Yeah.
This ends up being important later for when the case kind of takes a turn. You can take one of these antique rifles with you.
Yeah, finding this gives you ammunition in the final encounter to help piece things together. But Kim, you know, doesn't explicitly know that. He just has a hunch that maybe this has something to do with the Union or what's going on. Yeah.
Well, there just being weapons caches everywhere in town is you're not good for the stability.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. You can probably grab one of those and restore it. Yeah. The main thing that you're down here to find, or one of them, is you can go to this furnace and you can shout up it and somebody yells back. There's a young woman upstairs saying, hey, come on up. I'm, behind this curtain. I'll open it up for you. And you go up and you talk to the dice maker. She's this person who lives in an old coal chimney. And has a successful business making custom dice for tabletop role-playing games fans. Yeah.
You'd think this town wouldn't sustain such a thing, but apparently all these Union toughs way into Pathfinder.
Yeah.
You can talk to her. You can get dice made. I never did that because I was still broke. I did this on day one, so I was still extremely broke. But you can talk to her about the curse, because she is the ghost that lives in the chimney that they're talking about.
Right.
And she basically says like, no, this is just capitalism. Like these are the reasons why these businesses went out of business. And it makes sense. Like the 24-hour window place, like there wasn't a demand for that. And the ice cream shop used that big, hideous, scary polar bear as their thing. And another ice cream, thing came into business and it was cheaper and more friendly. Like this is just capitalism.
Yeah.
That is causing all these businesses to go out of.
And this unlocks a thought in the thought cabinet. I forget what the actual benefit of this was, but it was actually really good. She just says like, oh yeah, like the world's precarious. Like the systems are not necessarily set up for us to succeed. And the only reason any of us do succeed, the only thing protecting us is coincidence.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Shivers tells you this might actually be a curse. There's more with this later, where you can kind of follow up on this idea. And another thing you can ask yourself is if the hostel is part of the district, if that is also cursed,
right?
Which is a thread I did not follow up on too much because it involves those doors that I couldn't get into.
Same, yeah. So it's like it's technically part of the same address. Like when you look at the buzzer, on the front. But the idea of like where the curse might stop, because like this this coal chimney is not actually part of the business district. There used to be a coal plant that abetted. Or abutted against the business district, and so maybe it's her not being in the district that makes it so her business doesn't fail, regardless, I chose a palliative option when I went back to Plaisance, and I said, "Ooh, the curse is because of some dark arts that the taxidermist did." I lifted it, and even you know that that's only temporary, but a magical belief is not going to be dispelled by a logical explanation. So yeah, I did what I could.
I just told her the truth. She didn't like it. Yeah. I don't think there's a happy ending for her.
No.
So we can also, over by the docks where we saw City of the Skull, we can see this woman Joyce, who is on the sailboat, standing there smoking. She's the other major faction here. Yeah. She's from Wild Pines, which is a global logistics company that owns the harbor. And she's a labor negotiator.
Right.
She is here and she is the counterpart of Everett. She also wants something from you and will tell you more about, the actual crime, the murder.
Yeah. She has information for you. There are things that just anybody could know that she will talk about, but a lot of what she has to say is kind of hidden behind her desire to see a badge. She will say like, "Oh, if you go ahead and do this, I'll tell you." That's not necessarily the case. You can't get that information until you find your badge later on. But she will tell you, just basic things that are out there that like, the Union wants Wild Pines to be a complete democracy. She lays out that like Everard is just really the most corrupt person that she has ever met. Him and his twin brother Edgar get around term limits just by succeeding each other. To the point where there's a rumor out that like they are just the same person who pretend to be each other's twin.
Yeah, and to support that, you never meet.
You never meet Edgar.
Yeah, he's no longer there, and it's really interesting when she talks about the labor dispute because I think they threaded a needle really well here. Yeah. Because at least, for me, my instinct is to obviously be pro-union because that's what's good in real life. Yeah. But what the union wants is for every employee to be on the board. So every decision that Wild Pines makes, every employee weighs in. Yeah. On it. And I'm not saying that, I think a cooperative is a better structure than a traditional business, but I can understand why it's maybe a bigger ask than the union thinks. Yeah. Like if they have, it's like, oh yeah, like we have a bunch of decisions we make and just the logistics will slow us down so much through just having you constantly called to votes. Yeah. And then if you have people who are sick, et cetera, like this would just logistically make so slow. Yeah. That it would require a ground up, reformatting and why they would resist that. So I think if they just have been like, the union wants healthcare, then it would have felt much more open and shut. But like, I was very surprised by how much I kind of liked Joyce. Yeah. Like, she's a really good character. She's really appealing and friendly and like forthcoming and funny. For being, my political enemy in real life, I ended up really liking the character in the game. Yeah,
it's an interesting trick that they do to like with these two sides of the same coin, pretty much, to kind of like flip flop. One is philosophically right at the end of the day, but is unpleasant. The other is pleasant, but philosophically,
suspect.
Suspect.
And it shows a lot of like kind of deafness and maybe knowing their audience, right? Yeah. Because the audience for indie WRPG murder mysteries that are psychedelic probably leans pretty left. Yeah. If I had to guess, like I don't necessarily have stats on that, but I bet you that's safe. Yeah. So them kind of flipping that script, I thought was a really like clever way of introducing a little bit of nuance to this.
Yeah. And also it makes a certain point about the idea of all I can think of is respectability politics or like decorum, right? Yeah. That like the face of this system that is ultimately bad for you might be easier to swallow because they do a very good job of being of seeming like the reasonable option, right?
Well, and I mean, even just in personal, like she takes a lot of time to like explain things to you extracurricularly. Yes. Like she's kind of a friend in this, like talking to her about the Pale later, like when you do that, all of this stuff, like she's, kind of on your side as a person, even if she is a tool of something that is ultimately very harmful.
Yeah.
And that's neat trick.
It's a good trick, and it serves the murder mystery pretty well, because even though the problem of Wild Pines needs to be solved, they control 8% of all the shipping in this world. That's part of why the every employee a board member thing wouldn't work. It got too big in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if that was the problem that was presented here as the thing for you to rail against, that wouldn't be good. However, she is here acting as the part of Wild Pines that is reasonable to show that the mercenaries that they bring in, which are a much more deleterious force in the immediate, in the local terms, as opposed to global terms, it is something for the mercenaries to react against.
She's also the person who you're completing your quest of getting a reality lowdown.
Right.
When you wake up and you realize you don't actually know how the world works, she's the person who's going to tell you. So we learn a lot of world history here. This is where we learn about Revachol being this commune during this revolution, how the coalition crushed it, how Moral Intern came to power. And this is where we can first learn from her about the Pale. But Kim says he doesn't need to know about that. Kim kind of warns her off. So you have to come back without Kim to get the full Pale lowdown.
Yeah. You can either send Kim away to process the body, or you can just come back after Kim goes to bed.
Yes.
And Joyce is pretty much just out there smoking all the time. And I love this section. I love the way that she talks about the Pale specifically, and about the way that the world is actually organized cosmically, because she is a victim of it. She has suffered, very, very bad effects from being somebody who is exposed to this as part of her job.
Yeah. And what the Pale is nothingness in a way that we can't really describe.
Yep.
The same way you can't describe void. In this world, ships move through the Pale. They have special shielding, and they have ways of kind of condensing it to get through it quicker, but it's dangerous. You're cleared for a certain amount per year. It's like radiation. Basically.
Yeah.
And you can kind of, through different checks in this conversation, you can learn she's cleared for a lot more than a regular citizen. She's in the Pale a lot.
Yes. There are other people that we can find, either over in the traffic jam or later when we go to the church, where we can see what is happening to people who are exposed to even a very small amount of it. Just the complete sense of derealization that happens, kind of an unstuck in timeness that is going on, and basically like an erosion and overwriting of the personality. But it is this, basically a fog of nothingness that kind of gradiates into reality. These different continents, basically. In between these oceans of the Pale, and the place where where it makes the transition is called the Porch, and the Pale spreads. It's basically spores of a microorganism that is always going there, that is always encroaching, right?
Yes. Yeah. The world is 2/3 Pale, and it is slipping.
Yes.
Not in our favor. We're not getting more reality. We're getting less reality.
Yes.
Which is a trenchant metaphor for anything, right? Like a really, really good metaphor. Climate change is very obvious. I think that's probably at least a little bit on the minds of these people. But I also was thinking about it in terms of information, kind of poisoning.
Yeah, just epistemic crises that might happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about it in those terms. It's good. It is a really cool idea.
Yes.
And I love this conversation. This is one of my favorite conversations in the game that you can have with her about this. The Pale is very cool.
Yes. It is difficult to describe or even measure, something whose fundamental properties, physical, epistemological, linguistic. The further into the Pale you travel, the steeper the degree of suspension, right down to the mathematical. Numbers stop working. No one has yet passed the number barrier. It may be impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A very, very Grant Morrison idea.
Yeah. So this was a thing that Dolores Day, somebody who we may have heard mentioned, kind of this, like a savior, a religious figure, and kind of the figurehead of Moral Intern, who lived very, very recently. Like the big breakthrough that happened was figuring out how to travel through this. Basically looking beyond the pale to see where other people live and all of that. Yeah. And this great drawing together has caused, all kinds of conflict, and Moral Intern, basically their project became to go through as much pale as they could in order to find as many people as there were and unite them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, also shades of like colonialism and
yes,
when people found the quote unquote new world.
Right.
To this. So very, very good, interesting shit.
Mm-hmm.
We can go talk to Thomas Hardy at this point because they're in their little box. Union toughs. And the gardener is out front. She was never a gardener. This is Elizabeth, the woman that Everett sent away for legal training. She's the union's counsel, and she's going to kind of proctor this interaction.
Yeah,
that you have.
She is here to make sure that everything stays within bounds, because this is, like jurisdictionally, a very tricky negotiation that is happening here.
Yeah.
This is a jurisdictional battle pretty much, because the RCP doesn't necessarily have the remit to function here.
And this to me is one of the many places in this game where this really shines just as a detective game.
Mm-hmm.
Like taking all the cosmological stuff out. I really love this.
Mm-hmm.
Like these kind of really interesting kind of wrinkles to the genre that are happening here. Like they're doing these tactics that are real tactics, and like Kim will clue you in on this stuff. And the feeling of when you start turning the tables on this is so good. Like I felt so good when I started, and then winning this guy over to my side and liking him.
Yeah.
Was again, like, just this game is rich with relationships. I was very, very happy to cultivate, that started out, bad. And then because I decided to reform my version of Harry, Harrier Dubois, that was a very meaningful gaming good feel.
Mm-hmm.
For this big treat.
Yeah.
Big, like a whole cheesecake, like incredibly good. They confess to the murder right away. That's not the issue.
Right.
But no single one of them will take responsibility. And Kim will say like, hey, this is a tactic. Like,
yeah.
They're saying we have to take them all to diffuse the responsibility. And we can't take them all.
Right.
There's 2 of us and there's like 7 of them.
Mm-hmm. Basically, it would turn into a war. They're kind of pulling an I Am Spartacus kind of deal.
Yeah.
So, they say like, yeah, we killed him. We killed the victim because he was this mercenary hired by Wild Pines. We deduced this, like, we knew this because, that was just part of the background, but also like not everybody's walking around with this high-tech armor, right?
Yeah.
That he was wearing before was mostly scavenged off rather. He was at the bar every night, and he was, saying like, yeah, I'm this mercenary. He was threatening to kill people. And the big thing here is something that we're going to spend most of a whole day going back and forth and talking about here in the game, is that they say that kind of the last straw was that they raped somebody in the hostel. And the union could not let that stand. They're the law here, and that can't be.
Yes. So that makes sense. But you can also start kind of poking holes in the story at this point. They say that they knocked him out from behind before they took him there. That did not show up
right
on the body. You can kind of pressure to get the information about who the victim of the rape is. Like that's a test.
Yeah.
To get that, you say like, I haven't got to talk to that person at first.
Yeah.
You can also, during this conversation, you can scan them and match them up to their footprints that they have. But the one with the uneven footprints, the one with the one sole that is smooth is not there.
Right.
So you can start asking about the 8th Hardy Boy.
And they get especially cagey about that. They say, hey, this is none of your business. Don't press on that. And like, because they get so sensitive, your esprit de corps skill can pipe in and say, hey, you should leave that. Like, you'll find out about it later. Esprit de corps ends up being a really good ally here, because that is what helps you understand that they are the cops here, that they are basically like your equivalent and your colleague, in this situation, and it helps you relate to them as, as police, as the law here, and offering them any kind of respect is one of the best ways to get them to cooperate with you and to break this tension and make it not just an adversarial kind of situation.
Yep. Yeah. Realizing these are cops, and that cops don't just take the form of, this is community policing.
Right.
You say, like, you can talk to them at this point. You can kind of press them and say, like, hey, kind of press them about their drinking.
Right.
That they probably don't care, like they're too in their cups to give a shit about this. And this kind of, implying that they don't actually care about the community is a good way to get under their skin.
Yes.
And they say, like, listen, like, you guys have been drinking this entire time. That person who's the victim probably needs help. And this is where they'll let you know who it is. And it's Clage, the woman from outside your room.
Yes. So, Miss Orania, disco dancer.
Yes. And you will go back and forth now between these two quite a bit in a way that is mildly tedious and a little bit like superficial feeling to me. But it's fine. It takes a couple seconds.
Yeah. And they're in the same building. It's not really like a loading screen. I guess there is a loading screen between downstairs and upstairs, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can go up and we can talk to Clausia. You can exchange some pleasantries, get some basic information. She will tell you, like, yeah, I'm from Orania, but I'm wintering here in Revachol. Which, why would you winter here in Martinez? That's weird.
Yeah. Yep.
And when you ask her, like, hey, somebody told us that you were a victim of a rape, she says that's not quite what it was. Hardy is the one who told her to call it that to jazz it up. Yeah.
She's pressured to really embellish this whole thing, but she basically just doesn't do it. We find out, she did know the victim. They were lovers. Like, they partied, they did drugs a lot, and kind of built off each other, like a Sid and Nancy kind of thing. And she's the one who called in the hanging. She doesn't want other people to know that because Martinez hates a snitch, but she like cared for this person to a degree and did not like having her window, going out to smoke on the roof and just seeing his hanging corpse every day.
Yeah, for a whole week because nobody came to take it down.
Yeah.
So you can ask for more details to learn what the victim's story was, to, understand more about his past and, see why he would, be murdered. Right. But she's not emotionally capable of saying more right now. She wants you to leave it for later. So we can go back to Titus and confront him with what Clausia said. And he immediately is furious. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she didn't support the story. Like, just angry that the ruse didn't hold up.
I love the interplay between the union guys and the lawyer, because the lawyer is constantly trying to do damage control during this. Like, don't answer that. This is, you get one more question, officer, etc. Yeah. But these guys care. Like, they actually want the same thing you want. Yeah. They just don't know it. So they're not going to toe this line and keep their heads down. Right. And the hostility between the lawyer and the union guys is really great during this. Like, it's like a triangle almost of competing desires. There's a dumb little kind of side quest thing here. I wish they didn't make you do this. They say, like, listen, he did assault her and he was violent. Listen, we have a recording of him saying he was going to rape her. They give you a taped over tape. It's the Door Gunner Mega Mix. It was what's taped over. And you have to go get a radio. You have to go down to the pawn shop. Your radio is broken. It's just busy work. When you get that, you find this tape that does say that, but it's edited together. It's hijacked radio signals that are edited together, not like in a, you're very good at turning me on. Like, not like that, but just like the most incriminating bits. Yeah. Like, like a greatest hits.
These are terrible things for somebody to say, but it is not necessarily in the context that would be useful for understanding motive, right?
Yes.
For understanding the actual character of this person who was killed, right?
And specifically, in addition to the sex assault, he says he's going to kill everybody in the town.
Yes.
Cohoy style. which we'll later learn is a conflict. Like it'd be like saying, like in Vietnam.
Yeah, it'd be so like we're going to do it like My Lai, or we're going to do it Da Nang or something like that.
Yeah,
like he is invoking a specific atrocity that was committed that everybody knows about, which is a shitty thing to say. Yeah. And he straight up says, like, he is talking about how he is going to rape that dancer, so that's pretty incriminating as well. But you can take this back to Clausier and mention the tape. And even before you play it for her, or even, summarize the contents of it, she says basically like, oh, let me guess. He said XYZ. He probably said his Kohoi thing. Like that was just his version of a joke. Like he was never in Kohoi, but he was a destructive person. Those weren't real threats. That was basically like his version of a pickup line, which is fucked up. But
yeah,
again,
but it is real.
Yeah.
Like it is a thing that sometimes people are attracted to people who are big violent assholes, and you can kind of press this and be like, well, and she'll be like, oh yeah, I don't know what anyone would find attractive about a gigantic, strong man who's a loose cannon and unpredictable. As she like takes a drag of her cigarette, like it's definitely a type.
Yeah, and also like you poke around in her medicine cabinet, and you can see like she's not a self-destructive person. She's an extremely self-destructive person.
Yeah. Yep. So she doesn't know his real name. She just knows the nickname as well, Lili, because he's from Lelystad. We can learn about the tattoos here. These are maps of his service.
Yes.
Here, so he has tattoos of all the areas where he's served, and he used this to pick up women.
Yeah. Like she basically lays out the scene of like them doing pillow talk and like her tracing along the lines and asking him what was this one and what was this one. Like it was specifically like a little, board game of atrocities that he put on himself for his partners.
Yeah.
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 So, and I start talking to her about the things that Lely told me in my visions as I was inspecting the body. I mentioned the apocalypse that is coming from the Northwest, something that we've all forgotten that is coming. And, she says, I've got no idea what that means, but your senses say, oh yeah, she agrees. Like she knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So you head back to talk to Titus, and they don't like this either. They kind of lock up, and basically the way you get out of this is you appeal to them as lawmakers or as lawkeepers. You turn to Kim and you say like, oh, the authorities here are just going to murder you for any reason, and they don't care why they did it. It's not because it's rape. It's not because the victim actually the victim of the sex assault actually did not want this person killed. It's the last thing they wanted. They just don't care.
Yeah, that's just how
Kim
they do
at this
it here.
point, like the big balls on Kim, he starts doing this tick where he's like, Jacob, it is Jacob, right? And then just writing down. And he does that thing where he just keeps writing notes whenever anybody says anything to like get under their skin.
Yep.
It's so good. Like Competent Kim is really good.
Like Competent Kim, and also the fact that you are both doing this routine without discussing it. It just like this is what you fall into. It's so good.
It's the good stuff. It's the good stuff, man. This is great. I love it. And you can also your empathy can figure out which one is the one you should press here. So it is the fat guy. It's Angus who is the one you can press. This is a really great. Like this felt so organic. My skills guiding me the right way to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know how much actual variance there is in this scene. Like I don't know how different it is for other people. But just my skills being like, hey, do that one. Just felt so like it felt like I was accomplishing something, even though I kind of wasn't, because the skills were just telling me what to do.
Yeah,
but it carried that illusion of like detective work really well.
Yeah, the bumpers were up. There was no real gutter here.
Yeah,
but you still made a strike, right? And you still felt really good about it. Yeah. And like Angus, like he's the soft one. He's the newbie. And he's the one who is less able to kind of keep his composure, and he doesn't want to be misunderstood. He says like, no, like we didn't kill Lily. He was dead when we found him, which immediately changes everything. The cause of death that we put in was, the strap, You know, the breaking of his neck, the hyoid bone, and all of that, and that's wrong. Like all of the, you know, they did hang him, but that's not what did him in.
Yeah, and you can actually learn about that earlier, which I did not. Yeah. You know, it's a really, really difficult check to find that bullet wound before you know it's there.
Yeah, because it's inside of his mouth.
I did not send him away. Like, I could now take this information and go inspect the corpse, the geezer in the freezer, and take care of it. But it's you may or may not have this information from the corpse, which is really interesting. So they mentioned this, and this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
You know, he's dead when they found him. We find out Kaji was in trouble with the government for something that happened in the old world. You know, they found him. He was dead. You can kind of if you don't already know about where he died, a spirit decor check will tell you that show you coroners inspecting the bullet inside his mouth if you send him away at this point.
Yes. Yeah. So that's how I learned about the gunshot rather. You know, and we learn, okay, so the night of the murder, a very drugged out Clausier came downstairs, and, you know, the Hardy Boys were here drinking, and they went in, they saw that Lily was dead. You know, there was a bullet hole in the glass of the window that we did not notice that when we went up there to the bedroom. We didn't see a bullet hole there because
it's a new window.
Yeah, it's a new window.
Yeah.
Thomas has a brother who does window replacements.
Yeah, I think that's implied to be the guy who tried the business, the 24-hour business thing. I noticed that it was a new window, but I didn't have the stuff to put it together.
Right.
Just yet. You know, we talked to them. They say that the idea to do the hanging was the eighth person. You know, it's a woman. That, you know, they drop the gender, but they won't give you any more information.
Right.
You're like, oh, so she's a Hardy Boy, and he's like, no, she's just affiliated.
Right.
We're not ratting her out.
Yeah. So they say, all right, so now that you know this, you know, you should probably find a ballistics expert and look along the coast for vantage points. Like, you know, if you're actually going to help us here, you know, basically get on the team and start chasing down these angles, right?
Yeah. They do not want you to arrest her. You know, the idea is that Martinez, like, people wash up here. This is for lost souls. You know, if everybody, this is like a place where your past doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, this is a place where people go for fresh starts. We go talk to her, and she's like, yeah, no, I know you'd figure this out.
Right.
You know, I wanted to protect the boys. I gave you a runaround. And this is the first kind of hint that she has definitely been lying this entire time.
Yeah.
Which is such a, again, cool, deft moves, because you have a lying detecting skill. Mine was really high and detected the truth from her continuously.
Yes.
There's an incredible check that pops up with this at some point, just to throw in here, because this is around when it popped up as an option for me, where you can determine that the reason why all of your senses are lying to you is because you find her attractive.
Yeah.
So you can no longer trust your checks around her. You find her too hot to trust yourself.
Yeah. You know, and like,
here.
And that's how a femme fatale works in a detective story.
Fiction.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And all your senses like apologize to you for like being overwhelmed.
Right.
You know, it's real great. Like,
yeah,
it's good shit. And this is going to kind of unwrap the second kind of, fold of this murder mystery with her.
Right. She is very important to this, but not important in the way that you would think, as to why he was killed. You know, her specific situation is basically the reason why the whole truth cannot come to you at the start. Yeah. You know, so she, like, you know, she wanted the you know, she was protecting the Hardy Boys because she needed their protection. She's in trouble with moral intern. You know, she used to be a corporate spy. She was caught, busted for, you know, basically corporate espionage against one of the largest banks. And, you know, tons of people lost their job because of the thing that she did. One person even killed herself. She has this writing on her conscience, or she makes it seem like it's writing on her conscience. It's hard to know what is true with her. But like, this is why she can never be, you know, arrested. She cannot get into the system at all because a moral intern finds her, well, off with her head.
Yeah. Yep. We find out that Laylee had just started having sex with her when he got hit by the bullet, you know, so that is why he enjoyed his moment of death.
Right.
At this point, and she drops the name Ruby. We can say, who is that? And she's like, oh, the leader. So Ruby is the eighth Hardy Boy. She is the one who had them hang the body. They hung it in the shower first to produce this lividity to fake it. Klajgi put his armor back on as he was a corpse. Sounds horrible, all of this.
Yes.
Ruby gathered the men and they put him up in the tree.
Right. And when you go to leave, at least for me, there were 2 white checks around here. This probably was what you determined, what you passed there. That there is more to this, and I just didn't have the right the right loadout for this. However, we're not done in a room. We can go and inspect the window and pass a visual calculus check to determine that, yes, the likeliest position for the shooter would have been the roof outside. The problem is there are only 2 ways up there. One is through the bedroom, and Classy would have noticed, and the second is through this other door that is locked, and you cannot open without passing a really high strength check. But like the rooftop shooter position, is only 72% most likely. There are other far less likely positions, but all of those are across the bay over on this little fishing island.
Yeah. If I had the map at this point, so I was able to do the trajectory stuff to kind of learn the different points. And that kind of becomes part of your quest to go check out all the different possible nests.
Yeah.
Here, we can go talk to Titus, and he will not give you the information on Ruby. She does not need to be a suspect. Even if her hiding, her being in hiding is suspicious, I'm not going to give her up. You can talk to, one of the things is you have a check that says like, hey, talk to Klajgi without Kim there, and you can talk to her about Sunday night, the night before you woke up.
Right.
What she heard coming from your room.
Yeah. And what she heard was, you listening to disco music first, and then this low, mournful singing, like almost singing along to like pipe organ music or whatever. Then the destruction, you pulling everything down and destroying it, including the tape recorder, and then you screaming something, which I love this phrase. I don't want to be this type of animal anymore. Yeah,
it's like arc words.
Yes,
in the words of TV tropes, and this can pop up later as well.
Yes,
as a phrase that I really like. We can kind of learn here that she's not been entirely candid with us. She's still holding stuff back, but she's not giving us the full truth. You can say like, "Hey, this isn't your real name, is it?" She's like, "No." Of course not.
Right.
She has a fake passport that has a name, but that's also not her real name.
Right.
And then she tells you a name that is also probably not her real name.
Yes. So she is either Klasia, she is either Anouk Meyer-Smith, or she is Katrazine Alai, which, none of that might be true. She says, hey, I hid my documents, if you want to check this out, in a buoy down by some reeds on the coastal boardwalk. Later, when you can go get those, it's empty. And there's really no satisfying answer. She just didn't foresee that like the container would open.
Yeah. Yep. You can at this point, like I did not talk about taking her in, but at some point she can you can question her about the motives for this stuff, and she'll kind of talk about Ruby, and she'll say like, listen, the reason why Ruby did this is because she was kind of out of her mind. Like she was in love with me, and she was really jealous.
Yes.
She thought I was leading her on, and I wasn't returning her affections, and she did not want me to have sex with this dude.
Right. Flossie is doing an awful lot to finger Ruby, and that would not have been good if I said that.
She was not doing a lot for that.
Right. In fact, that's specifically what she wasn't doing. Yeah. No, but Classy is doing a lot to ascribe a lot of motive for killing Lily, saying, hey, she was jealous. That I wouldn't return her affection, and I was sleeping with Lily. She believes that that Ruby took the shot, from the balcony here, and then used the sealed door to get around quickly to avoid suspicion, and that is why Ruby immediately had a plan to cover up the lynching.
Yep. And she says, basically at this point, like, it was really suspicious because Ruby knew. As soon as I went downstairs, Ruby is like, here's what we'll do. I knew, so it had to have been planned.
Right.
This is where you get a choice to arrest her. Spoiler, you cannot arrest her.
Okay.
Period. Or like that you can try to, but it just won't happen. She just runs. I did a lot to not to arrest her. Like, I had a lot of sympathy for this character.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'll come back later. And eventually she disappears. So either way, she disappears.
Yeah, like I took the medium option, was to say like, hey, just do a station check in 6 weeks, and then we'll come after you. I should have known that threatening her with being a fugitive would not necessarily be motivating, because that's how she's lived for the past several years. So, but as you're talking about this, and talking about like, hey, what kind of future do you have? You can pass this Shivers check. To identify something she makes an offhanded reference to, the idea that there will be something like a free Revachol coming again, and your Shivers tells you about this, this urban legend or a name that people in Revachol give to the idea that the revolution will come back. This is the return, the hoped for return, and Revachol might pry itself free from being this, probationary, client state of moral intern, and if that happens, then, well, she can just live openly here, like there won't be jurisdiction. She will not have to run to another place, because this will be the place to run to.
So we go to sleep at this point. In our sleep, we always have these dreams. Our systems are talking to each other about how you're always half awake, even when you try to sleep, because every organ is in pain. And this because you're dying of alcoholism. Right.
They say, like, hey, that pain on your right side, that's your liver, you dipshit.
Yeah, that's not just like mysterious. That is an organ that's having a hard time.
Yes.
And, you need those. When you go downstairs, there's some new people in the cafeteria here. There's this patrol woman and a man who's obviously wearing a disguise. And I did not get very far with them. I didn't pass the checks.
Yeah. Even if you do, they don't really, you can't put two and two together and say, hey, you're my partners.
Yeah. These are people who are coming to, like, I know because of the end of the game who these people are, but I failed all these checks for dice reasons. But this is your partner and somebody else from your precinct. These people were here originally, but you told them to fuck off.
Right.
You're like, they're cramping your style. They're not going to help you. So you basically abuse them into leaving.
Yeah. I'm going to be the hermit cop.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. The big thing for day 3 is that you can now go over to the fishing village. It's like half the map.
Yeah.
They very cleverly hide that from you initially, so it's not so overwhelming. But the water lock is now repaired that you broke.
Yep.
That you can now get across. And there's this amazing, like, one of my favorite scenes in the game.
It's really good.
This is really good. Where you see there's this car, like, crashed into the ice. And you're like, look, he's like, I can't quite make out the numbers on that. And Kim says, well, maybe in low tide. Let's wait, and do that. And you have this little moment with Kim as you sit on the bench. I think this is how they should have done fast travel.
Yeah.
I've been kind of workshopping, like, this game is pretty much perfect, but like, what would I do differently? And I really wanted to be able to switch from one side of town to the other. And I think it should have been an option through Kim where you said like, hey, Kim, and you ask him about something, you start the conversation, fade to black, fade up in the new place, and you end the conversation.
Yeah.
It would have been perfect. Give it like 4 fast travel nodes.
Yes.
But you whistle and kind of wait and everything, and then you have this slow dawning horror realization that the car is yours. And this is really emotional.
Yeah.
Harry has a really hard time with this.
Yeah, because I mean, this is an incredibly expensive piece of equipment. Like, you're fucked. Like, if you go back, like the way that they gave you shit for even losing your badge and your gun, crashing, ruining your car like this, that's a huge deal. There's no way out from under this. Obviously he is catastrophizing a little bit. It's not nothing, but like, this is a horrible realization that, like, God, even over here, like, everything that is fucked up, is my fault because this past me that I do not remember did it to me.
Yeah. And they're never going to take me back.
Right.
Like this is the line, right? And
there's no place for
Kim
me.
Kim can kind of try to console you. Like, well, it is a lot of money. It's a major line item on the budget, but if we solve this case, it'll look good.
Yeah.
And this is really important, getting inside this car, because it allows you to get your badge. Badge has your full name, which is Harrier Dubois, not Harry. So that is, the Everett was making a guess.
Mostly
at least a partial guess.
Yeah.
Mostly right, but not entirely right. And you can see that you turned down a promotion for lieutenant twice. Like, you're actually a pretty high-ranking detective.
Yeah.
You also get your precinct overcoat, but it's just it's tragic. It's a sad thing to have happen.
Yeah.
This is where also you can get the centrist thought from finding this pair of khakis, like Tim and Eric pants.
Yep.
In a nearby shack.
I love this. Just the dialogue that the pants enter with you. What you want is a material. It's like, I don't know that I want to have everything move very, to have everything be so incremental. And it's just like, well, what you want is a material. The kingdom of conscious is coming, whether you want it or not, only very slowly. But the arc of the moral universe bends, but kind of gradually. It's fine.
Yeah, you'll never actually see it though. You're not going to live for it. Which is depressing.
Yeah.
You can now, with the badge, you can talk to Joyce and she'll give you some more information. But she says, listen, there's something else I need you to do. There's been some drug smuggling that's going on. I need to look into this. The way this actually worked was really tricky for me, where I said, is there anything I can do without my badge? And she said, well, if you can do us this favor. And uncover this drug smuggling ring. So when I came back with my badge, she's like, well, I already told my bosses that you'd do this favor. Like, you already agreed to this, and that's the terms. Like, you have to actually do both. It's not enough to have the badge.
Right. Yeah. So you go, you probably talked to a lot of these people before. There's the racist lorry driver, who was there, the person who I told to fuck off, and that gave me a disadvantage in all my checks against him. So you say like, hey, are you running drugs? And of course he objects to that, but for extremely racist reasons, basically saying, oh, it's a conspiracy against whatever this, I forget. It's a conspiracy against the whites. It's racial and economic sabotage. And of course he points out that this is probably, the culprit is probably this, the street vendor to the south, this Samaran.
Yeah. Yep. There's a woman we can find as we're looking around called the Pale Driver, who is this old woman who's spent too much time in the Pale, spoiler, who is in this kind of trance. She doesn't know really what's happening when she's gone. She doesn't know if she's carrying drugs. She just knows, like, I just drive through this. And this is kind of showing the economic realities of the Pale. It's this dangerous area. And, the working class is sent in there without protection. Unlike Joyce, like, this is contrasted with Joyce.
Yes.
Somebody who goes through the Pale quite, at least as much, if not more, but without the privilege.
Right.
And it's a ruinous experience.
Yeah. So, she wouldn't be liable even if she was. So, like, this is not, this is not a lead worth going for. There's just kind of a regular stand-up dude named Tommy Laham. You can pass an empathy check. They can, just like say like, hey, there's something off about him. Like, oh, he just misses his family, which, a long haul trucker wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And he, like during this conversation, like he will ask you like, hey, are you missing someone? And Inland Empire wonders like, oh, is that what that feeling is? Again, this kind of void that you feel. Half-Light, which is the sense or the skill that it governs your fight or flight, says no, it's scarier than that. You're pursued by a hunter smelling of apricots and sorrow and the past. Again,
and this is your personal story.
Yes, not
the thing. He says he doesn't have anything to do with the smuggling. And he doesn't want anything to do with crime. Like, he's a guest here. He doesn't want to get into it. I failed checks to get the Ruby's location other ways. So I had to strong arm this guy.
Oh,
that is a really, it's a heartbreaking choice. I just didn't make the dice rolls, for other things. Like, I think it's kind of a fail safe because it's not a die roll to do it. You just have to, and whenever you talk to him, like, you make him do it and he feels really bad. When you talk to him, he's kind of okay, but he's like, I really prided myself as being somebody who wouldn't do that. And now I'm just getting used to life as somebody who would.
Right.
Like, who would give up his friends. It's really, really sad as a thing. But it just, again, you get Plinko machine down your dice rolls in this, and I was trying not to save scum shit.
Right, and until the only option left is to emotionally abuse a good person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He was largely okay. You can actually make him feel a little bit better, which we'll talk about when we find out what happens with Ruby.
Yes.
So I put a mild lie Band-Aid over that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good.
Yeah. So the Samaran vendor that you can go talk to, his name is Sealang. He, just it doesn't take too much to find out that no, he wouldn't do that because he would not want to be part of any organization that would do that. And also he is terrified of the leader, this woman driver who, everybody has kind of been talking about. This is Ruby. You can kind of, just the conservation of detail will also just tell you that this probably is also this person. And so you can go talk to Tommy, and, he was really hoping that he wouldn't have to do this. And he knows what she looks like. Okay, so she's young, she dyes her hair frequently, but he does not know her name. And he's not scared of her, but he's worried that she is in such a dark place that if she is found out, she may do something drastic, like hurt or kill herself.
Yeah. I did not get this. This is, I talked about how I got the location. You talk about how you got the location.
Yeah. So I went back and I pressed the racist driver again, just to see if there was anything else that would come out, to figure out hey, which truck is hers. And Kim does this amazing bluff, basically leaning into racist conspiracy theories about a gang leader, named La Puta Madre, who, is a real person, in this world, and is a real force, but just making him believe, making this racist lorry driver believe that he will be a victim if he doesn't, bring this out, if he doesn't actually tell the truth about where this is at. And when he is softened up by fear, you can pass this half-light check to get him to tell you hey, hers is the green truck down by the defaced statue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you get into this truck, kind of regardless of how you get into this, you can go check out this thing. You can get inside the truck here. I think you get the key from Tommy, so I don't think I had to break open the window. I think Tommy gave me the key.
Okay.
So you get inside. There's a radio setup that could be part of a smuggling operation, like the nerve center, something for coordinating large groups of people.
Right.
There's sandpaper on the gas pedal, so it kind of shows how that's there for grip. And that's what happened to the shoes. So that kind of confirms it. There are pictures of ladies on the wall, one of which who looks like Clage. It's not her, but resembles her.
It's like pinups. It's like people, women who star in films, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And she has these notes. She's got a radio that is on a set of strange frequencies called ULAN, which implies either massive funding, or so not either. It implies both massive funding, or incredible, technical know-how on her part, and the fact that she is able to listen in on RCM communications. ULAN is the fictional radio standard that is also used to focus and impose latitude on the pale. This is very important for later on. This is basically like black science that she's doing.
Yes. Yeah. When we talked to Joyce with us, she says, I'll tell you everything I know. You've done the service for us. When I relayed the union's demands to Wild Pines, which is that every union member be on the board, they sent in a private military contractor. Wild Pines is no good. Rather than negotiating, they sent in, Blackheart or whatever the name of that fucking.
Yeah. They sent in Blackwater. Yeah.
Yeah. Blackwater. What a God. Small dick energy.
Yeah, extreme small dick energy. Well, it's explicitly
Blackwater.
It's explicitly an allusion to Blackwater, or at least Blackwater is a famous example of this. So the organization, the militia is called Crenel, but basically after every deployment they have to change the name. Just because they get caught, and Blackwater, has been through a number of different names since, first in the Iraq War, and then when further details about what they did in the Iraq War came out, and leaks and stuff.
What a world.
Yeah, what a world.
Like,
also,
yeah.
Eric Prince's sister is our Secretary of Education, Gary.
Cool.
Cool.
Very cool.
Eric Prince is walking free and has a lot of influence.
Yeah, very cool. It's very cool that they're just like, bring us your most damaged, violent morons, and we'll put them to work.
Jesus.
As like just like a cool.
Cool.
So the idea here is, these the operations here are a smokescreen for what's actually happening. This investigation's happening on the lynching from Krenel. That's going to result in a military tribunal and executions.
Yeah.
Like she basically says, like, listen, this is actually incredibly serious. Like we're setting out a powder keg.
Right.
Here. If you do not find an actual suspect, a single person who's responsible for this, there's going to be a total civil war.
Right.
In West Revachol. Like this paramilitary organization is going to come in and slaughter Union. And you can say, well, yeah, there's thousands of Union members and there's only seven or 4 of these guys. And she's like, well, you've ever seen a wasp like invade a beehive?
Right.
Like it's not pretty. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Like you think the numbers are going to give you the advantage, but no, armor and machine guns give you the advantage.
Right. So, like just they have this armor that we have seen. We've seen how it works. Additionally, like the PMC has semi-auto rifles. And every other, like even the police force, every other firearm here as a muzzle loader. Like that, that is a small detail, but it heightens just how much of an advantage that Krenel would have in this situation.
There's a neat little thing that I had that kind of hinted to me that what was going to happen with that climax because I stole the boots.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know why I just wanted those boots, so I put them in the freezer, put the victim, and then I went down into the freezer once Kim was asleep and took the boots, and then was wearing them. And they give you a thought about the boots, which allow you to get an advantage against like people wearing them.
Okay.
Whenever you make a test against somebody who's wearing them. And I was like, oh, okay, like I'm going to end up fighting somebody in this armor at some point. And it's real cute. Like you can talk to Kim and you can be like, aren't you going to say something about my new boots? And he says, I don't approve of that. And if anybody ever asks me, I will turn you in, but I'm not going to like do it now.
Yeah. Like this doesn't need to be an issue.
Yeah. Like you get a little quest to collect all the armor. And you can get the full set, even though you get the last little piece that I think is the helmet. You get at the very end, but it's too late to do anything with it.
Right.
But it's just a little collect them all power armor quest.
Yeah. But this is, this is our time limit. This tribunal is out here doing their quote unquote investigation for this tribunal, which is, appropriately enough, going to be its own kind of lynching, just an extrajudicial killing of whoever they feel is most responsible for what happens here. Of course, they're going to side against the Union, and it is going to be a flashpoint for this massive conflict that will have just horrible ramifications for the neighborhood, if not the city.
Yeah, it's going to be a slaughter.
Yeah.
We learn about the different people in the mercenary corps. Cordy, who is the gunner, DePaul, who is the radio operator, and then Lily, we mentioned. Cordy is actually the scab leader by the gates. We've been eyeballing him when we talk to him, and we realize something's up with him.
Yeah.
And DuPaul is on a building overlooking the roundabout. So sees everything.
Right. You can show Joyce the photo of Lily's tattoos, and she recognizes it, saying, hey, yeah, it's a map. Sailors would tattoo it on themselves, so their souls could get home if they drowned. But this is not a map of waterways. It's a map of his deployment. So he just took an existing style of tattoo and adapted it to himself.
Yep. And she says, well, you can probably, the platoon members might know more, but be really careful about that. Like, I don't actually think you should go in and talk to them and tip your hand. Of course I did this.
Yeah. I wish I didn't.
And it's pretty horrible. And the game warns you off it. Like you go in, you talk to the scab leader, and he kind of goes into a fugue state for a moment and remembers one of these deployments and this war crime that they do that I don't know that we even need to go into right now.
No, we don't even need to say that. Like I wrote it here just in case it was pertinent, but suffice to say it involves awful things.
Atrocity.
Yeah.
And when you're going through this conversation, your skills are constantly saying, hey, do you really want to hear this? Like you can back out at any time.
Right.
It ends up helping later when you talk to this guy. So if you go through this, when you end up talking to this guy during the standoff, it actually is useful to have gotten this insight, but it is hard to sit through.
Yeah.
Because it is gross prose.
Right. So another thing that we can do now that the fishing village is over, we can go and do what Everett was asking us to do. His second task, which involved getting these signatures for the planned construction of a youth center. And you can actually like look at this. You can open up the letter and examine the contract that they are wanting the people of this fishing village to sign and examine it. And if you pass some checks, you determine that, like, yes, they want to build a youth center, but this is really just a way for the union to secure the lands by making living there so intolerable because of a very long construction period and a lack of access to roads. Like you going and getting these signatures is not in the best interest of these people.
Yeah, the successful way to do the quest is to kind of figure this out is to forge the signature.
Yeah.
If you try to get them straight up, there's two people that they still need. Mm-hmm. There is this washerwoman who's there. You can she just signed for me. She liked me for some reason. She also ended up being my new landlord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you went and started staying in the shack.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Yeah. You can start staying somewhere for free, which I think is really great. It lets up the weird economic pressure of the beginning of this game. Yeah. You know, like getting $20 a day in the beginning, I think is there to make you make certain sacrifices.
Yeah.
For that, either in terms of forming a bond with Kim to where he'll pay your rent, or compromising yourself to the union.
Yes.
So you can get that money to pay the rent. They want you to have to feel that economic duress.
Yes.
And then on day 3, they give you an option around it.
I like that.
You know, I like it a lot. I think it's a clever way to like take something that you know, whenever a mechanic is there to make a point about the world by inconveniencing the player.
Yeah.
The inconvenience almost always lasts longer than the point.
Yes.
You know, like I get it. Like, I understand what you're trying to do, but I still have to do this. Like, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
This game is just like, well, what if you didn't have to after a certain point? Like, we made our point. Now have your own little, like, shack to live in.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. Like, I wish every game would, like, it's such clever design. This is where we also go meet Lillian the net picker, who is a woman who's wearing a sword. She's standing by the docks. She lost her husband at sea. She would not sign the papers for me.
No.
So we had opposite things. So this is when I ended up having this thing where like I kind of let this go for a while. I kind of forgot about it because I was really entranced by exploring a new area.
Yeah, it's big too.
It's real big. In my canonical playthrough, I never actually got these papers signed and never got my gun back. Which, again, I mentioned last episode, leads to a funny line at the end. I ended up watching that sequence online just to see it.
Yeah.
But this was something that was like a large piece of content I just missed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I did manage to do this, so I can talk about it firsthand when we get there. It's pretty cool. I was very concerned, you know, the way that these stories work, the way that fiction works. I figured, that gun being out there, somebody bad is going to get a hold of it, and somebody I care about is going to die.
Oh yeah. Like I was certain that it was bad that my gun was out there.
Yeah.
I just kind of got distracted by other stuff to do. You know.
Yeah.
Including helping the entomologist.
Yeah. We can do that here. So we can go at the far end, out in the reeds, and you can meet these people: Moral, the cryptozoologist, and Gary, the crypto-fascist.
That's very funny that they hang out because of the prefix.
Yep.
Like the cryptozoologist and the crypto-fascist looking for cryptids.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing they have in common.
First we will sacrifice the teachers,
funny.
then the mailmen, and so on in that fashion.
And then Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Like I just I love it so much. It's so funny. Gary the crypto-fascist is a really minor character.
Yeah.
He is the person whose apartment we broke into. There we can kind of tease it, show him the mug that's missing from his thing. And he, like all fascists, is absolutely pants-pissingly terrified of authority and loves to lick a boot. So as soon as you start playing any kind of authority, he starts freaking out.
He rolls over like a dog. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Because fascists pathetic. He wants belly rubs. Like he wants, fascists want treat. So he's, oh, this was a lapse in my honor that I put the clothes, I was just trying to clean up the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think it looked good. And he actually took the armor. This is how you can get the second piece of armor.
Yeah.
You intimidate him into taking it off. He's wearing it under his clothes.
Mm-hmm. This is the only piece of armor that I got, which I'm happy I did because it saved my life.
Yeah,
I think
it's
so
a good
anyway.
piece of armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that dispatches with Gary, the crypto fascist. He can go back to his small little world. More importantly, you can talk to Moral here and ask him about what he's doing. And you can pick your tack with him. You can be interested in the Phasmid, or you can just kind of write it off. I went all in on I'm going to help you find this goddamn Phasmid.
Yeah.
But he is looking for basically this ghost bug that disguises itself as a reed. And it may be in any number of these traps that are around the island. I agreed to go check them so he can get back to Lena.
Yeah. This is not the best content in this game, just walking from trap to trap.
Right.
I think what they're trying to do is get you to explore the beach fully.
Yeah.
They're all empty on there. You're not finding this Phasmid. When you talk to Moral and Lena, you can get to them and they're in denial.
Yeah.
They're saying, oh, the bug must be more clever than we expected. One of the traps has a hole in it. The locusts are gone and you suspect that's Kuno. If you want to, you can shatter their dreams. But if you do that, that's a very monstrous act because as you talk to them, you realize that their relationship is founded on this. Like they have a very real love, but it's really important that they hold on to this because it's their origin story. Lena has one of the few very substantiated accounts of this Phasmid as a child. And you can say hey, that's no good. This is fake. You were a kid. You could believe anything, but you don't want to do that.
No.
That shit sucks.
Let people have their fiction.
Let people have their love. So you want to go get the locust back. They are, you talk to Kuno, he denies it, and you can go in his little shack and he's put all the locusts in there.
Yeah.
It's part of his weird little role-playing campaign he's making.
It's the city of locusts, the city of rage.
Yeah.
Kuno just wants to express himself. You got Kuno West poking up over the fence over there, telling him it's lame. And I encourage him. I say, no, it's good to make things. It's weird that it's locusts in a shack, but you do you, Kuno.
Yeah, encouraging Kuno is a good thing, is a morally good thing to do.
Yes.
In this game, even if he has a little shit.
Oh, yeah.
You can ask and say hey, we put, more locust in this trap. Let's not give up. And here, Kim is really exhausted by this whole thing.
Yeah.
And this is when you start, not just yet, but soon you can pick up on the fun that he's having with it. He has to put on a front about it being bad, but he's actually having a little bit of fun.
Yeah. So, I insist on checking the traps. I say, hey, let's not give up. And she goes up to, she goes to stay with Moral, is discouraged. And when you go back and look at the trap that you laid out, the locusts are still there and they're sick and they're dying. So this really does, look hopeless.
Yes.
Did you solve the case with the dead body on the pier?
I did. It actually looks like too, I had something before this as well that ties into it. On day 3, there's a lady outside of the bookshop. Did you talk to her before the body? I
went up to talk to her and she told me to buzz off and I was like, oh, okay. You don't want to be bothered. I figured it was,
okay.
I figured there wasn't anything else there. So is she is she the wife?
Yeah, she's the wife.
Okay.
She can talk to her and you insist, this is a real good little train here.
Cool.
You can kind of empathetically learn, she says, she doesn't know where her husband is and she's not worried, but you can tell that she actually is. And you kind of basically surmise all these things about her husband, that he's a drinker. She says, well, you're like, hey, I can look for him. And one of the, big threads of heart in this game, I think to me is did you get the Project Searchlight thought at any point?
No.
That's the name of the unit that finds missing persons.
Okay.
In Harry's thing. And you can start thinking about maybe this is what I'm good at.
Yeah.
Because you spend a lot of time doing that in this game, and it's like an unequivocally good thing to do.
Yeah, to provide closure for people.
Yeah, exactly. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
So I talked to her. She mentions his jacket, his unusual jacket. Little side thing that happens with here is you start talking about animals at some point, 'cause she's browsing books about this, and you can talk about cockatoos, different types of cockatoos.
Okay.
So I went into the bookstore and got a book about cockatoos because I thought that maybe that was my like heraldic animal.
Okay.
And you learn about, like, I read the book, learned about different types of cockatoos, and then like end up going back to her and being like, yeah, I'm a fuck up a two. Like, I fuck everything up. So that's what me and Will keep saying. Like, me and Will keep saying fuck up a two.
Okay.
As a thing, as like, somebody who's a constant fuck up. But you can ultimately end up kind of getting her on your side. And then because I had talked to her when I saw the body, I knew immediately who it was because of the jacket.
Yeah. So
it was really tragic.
I never spoke with her until it was time to break the news.
Oh yeah.
And that was awful. The way
the scene is horrible regardless, like whether you knew her or not. Like it's a really hard scene.
Yeah.
But again, it's stuff that puts this game in the stratosphere, because what other video games are you breaking the news of a dead husband
right
to a newly formed widow who has kids? And it's taken really seriously. So like on the pier, and the other thing too is because I had done the autopsy, like, so you're walking around the pier on this point, and my my senses, my perceptions, like, oh, you smell something familiar. It smells like behind the hostel.
Yeah.
And we find a dead body.
Yeah. It's laying on the pier right next to a bench. Yeah. And by inspecting this, you determine, okay, he was stupid drunk. He was walking along here. A piece of the boardwalk that was rotten collapsed beneath him. And he died because his fall made his head connect with a metal bench. He got $1 million babied.
Yep, he has been brained. Yep. The other weird little wrinkle to my version of this was the night I sent Kim off with the body.
Oh.
So I didn't have Kim with me here, so like I was alone and freaking out, and I basically had to run away and say, like, I got to come back with Kim. Like, Kim will know what to do about this. Like, it was very childlike and endearing.
I need daddy.
Everybody needs a Kim. So he has a library card on him, where we get his name, and we can call the library and get information about who owns the card.
Yes.
The card actually belongs to the wife, whose name is Billy. And we get an address here. So we have to go break the news.
Yeah.
Incredibly tough.
Yeah. So like you go in and, like Kim puts it on, says like, hey, you go ahead and do this. It takes, I had a pretty high empathy skill in this, cause I focused on, the emotional, the emotional stat. I failed it and I stumbled, and Kim is the one who has to step in. And her reaction is so bad, just like, watch, if we go frame by frame, you can see the moment where her heart breaks. It's bad enough that I take health damage, from seeing it.
It's too heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, I ended up passing all the checks around this, but it was still really heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
I love the little moment beforehand when you talk to Kim and you're like, have you ever done this? He's like, yeah, a couple times. And he says, well, what should I do? And he says, don't say you know how they feel, because you don't.
Yeah.
Like by no means say that.
That is such good
It's
advice.
really good advice. Yeah. Because mourning is such a mysterious and private thing that like any attempts, me and Jeremy were doing a Days of Future cast at one point, and we both started talking about our mom's funerals.
Okay.
And there's like a half hour at the end of one of the episodes that is us talking about grief. That kind of came out of the nowhere, absolutely nowhere. It wasn't even the X-Men season. I think we were talking about like the Incredible Hulk cartoon or some more shit. But like and it was just like a really long like unpacking about the experience of grief and the funerary process and such. Yeah. And it was just like really fascinating shit, because it is beyond fucked up. And I feel like there is understanding around it, but it also feels like something that you should not deign to say you understand. No. Like it's not like something you should even really try to like put yourself in.
Yeah. It's it's a huge and complicated thing that, you will process grief for the rest of your life. Yeah. It's just there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, incredibly sad stuff.
Yeah. Also incredibly sad, she maintains her composure just long enough for us to leave. Like their kid is off in his bedroom off to the side. And as you leave, you can hear her wailing that, she expected that it was going to happen, but she, the reality hit.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It's very sad.
Yeah. Back over on the fishing island, there are other NPCs that you can talk to. The Union of Moribund Alcoholics.
Yeah. Yep. Three people, and they know you. Mm-hmm. They kind of hail you down. One of them just talks about a girl's name, like Abigail. And the name of the person is don't call it Abigail, because that's all he says.
Right.
Very sad. There's a dealer here, so if you want to buy booze, you can buy it. And then there's a character named Idiot Doom Spiral.
I love Idiot Doom Spiral.
This is like the DLC bait character, which is really interesting. Because he knows you, and you can ply him with alcohol to get stories. He talks to you. He calls you Tequila Sunset as your nickname. And you can say like, "Hey, what's up with that? Like, tell me a story." And he tells me the story of when you crashed your car.
Yes.
And then started partying with them.
Turns out that Tequila Sunset is actually an existing nickname. Like, that is not what he decided to call you. Like, that's what the people at the station, people in your unit call you. And you call yourself Tequila Sunset because it was the end of days, and he won't tell you anymore until you go and bring him some booze. Fortunately, you can just bring him a bottle of Pilsner, and he will be fine. You can just go talk to Rosemary, who's the dealer there. I love this. Lays out what he has to sell, and he's got this $300 300 real bottle of spirits that he swiped from a doctor's office. That it was used to preserve snakes, and he got most of the snake out of it.
I got a lot.
He tells you the story about it, and just like as he goes, he says the price again, and he says it's worth 3 real instead of 300, and you can just buy it for that without correcting him, and everything goes fine. So one of those was a misspeak, but it doesn't matter because it broke in your favor.
Yeah. Yep. You can, when you give Idiot Doom Spiral the Pilsner, he'll tell you a story of how he got his name. He used to be in kind of high society around this concept creative industry, had the life. And then one day he lost his keys and his ID while on a jog, couldn't get into his apartment, and then kind of lost his leverage. Like, he could no longer, the cops did not sympathize with him because he didn't have ID. He couldn't get in there. This does not sound real. Right. It sounds like a fake thing, but he's there, and he's a drunk, and he's kind of been a drunk ever since.
Yes.
And he misses his jacket, which you can find on a fence covered in seagull shit.
It's so covered in shit that it's solid as a plank.
It's stiff. Yeah, Kim gives you a real look when you pick this up. So I end up having the washerwoman clean this and bring it to him, and he says, no, this is just crap. I wouldn't wear this. So you get to keep the jacket. If you keep giving him beer, he tells you other stories, including the one that sounds like it is what the fans are guessing is going to be the DLC, which is the Legend of the Cocaine Skull.
Okay.
Here. So he just tells you these little, I think he has 3 little stories he'll tell you in exchange for booze. And one of them sounds like something that
something you would do.
Yeah.
I had the option to tell him hey, your whole for want of a nail story, doesn't make any sense, because everything was your fault. And he's like, yeah, whatever. Let's just have a drink. So a little further up on the boardwalk, there's a gigantic factory building that is completely sealed off, and there is a man standing next to a mural there, and his son is with him, and he is explaining the mural and what this building used to be. And you can go up and you can overhear this. He's talking about this computer company that used to have a headquarters here. They were working on what is basically like this world's version of quantum computing. But the revolution came and it ultimately failed, not just because of the revolution, but also because it was wildly expensive and impractical. And as he is kind of giving this huge encyclopedia dump, he mentions this gallery that features stuff similar to this mural called the Wompty Dumpty Dom Center.
I love how that in and of itself unlocks a thought. Like the Wompty Dumpty Dom Center.
What the fuck? Why is it called the Wompty Dumpty Dom Center?
I must know. I love Trant as an illustration of how there are a lot of characters in the game that represent what happens when a stat gets too high.
Yeah.
As like a representative of stats not being an inherent good. Like it's not like D&D where you want 18s and everything.
Right.
Like if you just have super huge encyclopedia, you become Trant.
Yeah. And Trant is impossible to be around.
Yeah. Trant's rough. There's this church on the way there. The door is locked. And there's a little picture of a dead man smiling, X's for eyes, smiley face on there. And Kim mentions that juvenile delinquents must be involved. This foreshadows to his past in the delinquent unit.
Right. His 15 years. His 15 years in the delinquents unit.
Yeah, and he absolutely hates it. I could not get in the thing either, so I went and talked to the kids to ultimately get here. Nearby, there's a woman named Estelle who is outside a tent making field recordings of cracking ice with a contact microphone. This is real life art music wank shit.
Yep.
That is something that real life people do.
Yeah, field recordings.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you can go into this tent and see that it is, full of all of these big gear crates that are covered with tarps. Before you go, you can actually tell her yeah, this isn't a childish fantasy, but she says no, it actually is. And so you go in, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it is. I never got resolution on this, but I was very sad. And it was suggested, why are they leaving her outside to do this?
Right.
While they hang out inside. It felt like she was being mistreated.
Yeah.
There's very specifically a secret that she has. I don't know if you got it, but I never did. Right. There's a thing where she's like, yeah, I'm hard to catch. I'm a silver bird. And I had a check that was catch the silver bird. And it was incredibly hard and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I never got her full story, unfortunately.
Same, yeah. This whole thing ended up being a quest line that I ultimately didn't do because I resolved it in a way that cut off a lot of the content. Because I went inside, Kim stayed outside. He says that he's too old for this, but esprit de corps is oh yeah, he just hates delinquents. Inside there are 3 people. The first one that I spoke to was Egghead. This is a little dialogue puzzle. He's like the hype man for Twisted Firestarter.
He's got big Twisted Firestarter energy. Just as hardcore, there's one of the things he shouts out is internally coherent.
Yep.
Which I think is a very funny party shout.
Yep.
Internally coherent. He's kind of got a German accent.
Yes.
And it's a dialogue puzzle in that he won't actually speak to you. You have to figure this out, though, to end up talking to Egghead. This was also something I did not fully do, but this was the main thing I did this week.
Okay.
Was this whole church quest, so I can speak to this.
Gotcha. Yeah. I eventually crack his hardcore code. He's just a party boy. No. He is not a musician. And, what he wants to do is find a way to make the music more hardcore. And you can make suggestions about this, and you can bring them tapes. I think you can bring him the Door Gunner tape, and they can work that
pretty
into
hardcore.
It. Yeah, pretty hardcore.
Yeah. The leader is Andre, and he says, basically says hey, you're a cop. Can you help us clear out these spooky people from the church so we can set up a venue in there?
Yes.
I think Andre's a really well-observed character.
Yeah.
In this, he is he's old. He's balding. He has this weird haircut, and you can challenge him on it. Oh, you have that because you're balding. This is, another form of somebody past their prime hanging on to their youth, but a more successful version of it.
Yeah.
Than you. He is less a figure of fun. If you get this club up and running, these characters are actually pretty wholesome.
Yeah.
If you follow them all the way down, you can kind of look at the stuff they have, and you can see actually they have stuff to make meth.
Yeah.
In here, and it doesn't add up. They only have one speaker. They don't have any headphones, and you can say hey, you guys are trying to make meth, and they're like, well, we want to do that to run the club to get money.
Yeah. And
you can actually say yes to the club, but no to the meth.
Okay.
You do not get to set up a drug lab here, but we'll let you set up the club.
Yeah. I basically told them to skedaddle because they tried to they lied to me. No, you can't do that. If I say oh yes club no meth, you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna make some meth when I'm not looking.
Well, Kim takes the meth stuff.
Okay.
I don't think you can say yes club and yes meth. I think Kim stops it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we that stuff gets confiscated, but they are true believers in the music. Like they're not, it's not like they pretend to be into music, but they're really into drugs.
Right.
Like they're well-intentioned. They're just also, and the way that I ended up like approaching it was like, up until 3 days ago, I also did meth probably.
Yep.
Like it's only because by the grace of Gary Butterfield that this Harrier Dubois is now a straight edge icon.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't used to be, so I can't judge these kids too harshly because I probably will also like meth. I got my electrochemistry skill yelling at me to become one of these kids.
Yeah, no, so I can have a little bit of sympathy for them and their anodic dance music, which you do not understand as a disco person, but they are obviously very passionate about. Well,
you can also understand it. Yeah. Ooh, like if you ask the right questions about it and talk to, I think there's somebody else in town and I can't remember who you can talk to about music, but I had a little bonus that was like andoic music expert.
Ooh, okay.
So I had known about that stuff.
Yeah. So I got the key off of them, and I wanted to go because they talked about strange equipment and crab people.
Yes.
In this church. So I wanted to go and see what this is. And I imagine that at least the beginning of what you do with talking to the church people is the same, regardless of how you decide to land the plane. And I would like to hear like how this resolves if you engage with the quest fully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll talk about the stuff that's common that we have here, and I'll talk about the end of the quest at the end because you have to do all the stuff normally first.
Right. So you can get in either by getting a pry bar again or using the key. And like the church is full of these half-finished sculptures that are not of Dolores Day, who this church was built in honor of. But it's these half-finished sculptures. And then you also have all of these wires that are leading to bowls of water that are arranged around the sanctuary that are kind of like leading to this mainframe rack. That is up toward this broken stained glass depiction of Dolores Day.
Yeah. Yep. Which you can spend a lot of time with taking a look at this. And this is where you can learn a lot about this kind of religion here. You mentioned this, you learn about Dolores Day here. And you can also learn about how in this world, instead of the heart being the symbol of love, it's the lungs, a glowing set of lungs, and that there's something menacing about Dolores Day. And Kim will be like, yes, like there is. There's a harshness to her. She's beloved and feared.
Yeah. Just like the way that if if Joan of Arc was alive in our day, it would be fucking terrifying.
Yeah. So we get this information about that. We can also talk to the crab man. His name is Tiago. And he kind of descends from the rafters. He tells you about how, he knows your body has been ravaged by alcohol, your spirit has been ravaged, and he's here to reference worship something called the Mother of Silence, which the church was built around. And this is, this makes you think of the pail driver. This is a piece of pail.
Yep.
Here. And this is the quest on this is to kind of figure some of this stuff out. This is a hole in the world.
Yeah.
And you can find this out by walking between these bowls of water. And when you stand there, when you talk, all the sound is swallowed.
Yeah.
From there, you can no longer hear yourself breathe. You can barely hear Kim. When you're there.
Yeah. It's like being in an anechoic chamber, which will make you go crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I've always wanted to be in. I always wanted to check that out for at least like a second.
Yeah, I wanted to see just to see what it feels like. It's not like permanent, but like it is a sense of derealization when things do not behave the way that you would expect them to. But yeah, like this is a small piece of pale, it is a 2 millimeter hole in the world. And by talking to, by talking to Joyce, you understand this is like a spore of an organism. This means terrible things for Martinet and Revachol, generally, because this will grow. Like this is going to expand,
And when you put it together, this is actually one of 7. Churches that you can find out through this kind of quest line. So there are multiple bits where there are holes in reality that are expanding slowly. So really bad shit. There's a radio operator here who's here we can talk to, who's using the same kind of machine as the tabletop gamers
Yes.
are using. And you can kind of talk to her about it, and you find out that her name's Suna. She's researching this thing. Since I was trying to get her out to get the kids in, she says, after you talk to her, she says, well, okay, well, I will leave if I complete my research. So I need and I was like, okay, what do you need to complete your research? And she's like, why, I don't know. And because I did the stuff with the Doomed Commercial District, I could offer the master tapes of her tabletop game, basically offering her a career change. Like, what if you went back to that?
Yeah.
So I had to get into the freezer. Mm-hmm. You get her that. You go and she uses those master tapes and you adjust the bowls there. And she has a microphone set up where it's set up to point at the 2 millimeter hole in reality. Mm-hmm. And you take turns on headphones trying to listen to it. Yeah. It's very scary. She's very scared of it. Mm-hmm. And you don't hear anything, but there's something there. You sense something. Mm-hmm. So you can suggest to her, hey, maybe the reason why you can't hear this is because your sound system isn't good enough. If you're willing to let these kids come in here and do this and cohabitate with them, they'll let you use their sound system and get the proper, a bass range for this. So you do. The kids set up there in a club, and they're they're cohabitating. They're all there, and they do the experiment again with their bass rig. And it can't turn off. The signal starts shaking.
Oh, it's like a feedback loop kind of thing? Okay.
Yeah. It starts the church starts crumbling. The statue, the stained glass starts falling and everything. Mm-hmm. And everyone is losing their minds. It's extremely scary. Yeah. Eventually they pull the plug on it. But this is completes her research. And it's, everyone is kind of in shock at the terror of this. Mm-hmm. But the kids get this idea that by making this a place of sound, these churches were originally built to contain this. Yeah. This was never, it wasn't it
wasn't an accident.
Holes, holes didn't start where the churches were. Churches started where the holes were. Mm-hmm. So they say yeah, we're going to do this club. And she's like, well, that might help. The kids believe that it's going to stave off the end of the world. Yeah. You get to name the club.
Okay.
And you can name it Disco Elysium or At War with the Furies. Mm-hmm. There. And then a really, really wonderful scene that can happen in this is you can start dancing with them to the music. And you just start busting a move. And you start calling on everyone to dance.
Okay.
Around you. And everybody starts dancing to this electronic dance music. Mm-hmm. And you call on Kim to dance. And Kim, obviously, sticking
He's too buttoned up for that, yeah.
It's an incredibly difficult authority check to do so. If you do so, he'd bust a move. He's like, well, I was in the delinquent unit for 15 years. I can dance. Nice. And he starts doing this really, really great dance. It's a really sweet moment. If you fail it, though, Will was telling me about this. Uh-huh. You call him a slur.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And you're just caught up in the moment. You're like, come on, do it, and he leaves, and then you go out and he talks about how disappointed you are. And Will was like, yeah, it was the only time I reloaded a save.
Yeah.
In the game. I couldn't have that on my conscience.
Yeah. I mean, so you call him a slur. Is it implied that that it's a homophobic slur?
No. It's okay. Because you can go through the game without knowing that.
Right.
I think it's a racial slur.
Okay.
The way you find out that so Kim Kitsuragi is gay. Mm-hmm. The way you find that out is by talking to the cigarette smoking man, and you get a thought that's the homosexual agenda.
Yeah.
And basically, the way you solve it is not by figuring out the agenda; it's by not obsessing over everyone's sexuality.
Right.
And then you can after you unlock that, you can talk to Kim, and Kim says yeah, I'm gay.
Yeah. You can have a conversation. You can say, there's just something about that guy that is sticking out to me. I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. It starts the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very sweet little scene. Mm-hmm. You learn, the stuff you learn about the Pale from that, other than the fact that it might be able to be combated through this. The kid storyline in this, I think the whole thing is a thread of hope. Yeah. In the next generation. There are parallels to you in that as somebody who can't let go of the culture of the past.
Right.
And is absolutely, and your own past and are positively self-destructing,
right.
Because in a way. And then there are these kids who are not really kids, like these are adults, who are keyed into the future and have this hope.
Yeah.
And I think that's the idea behind them. Like this is, for climate change, for, whatever crisis this represents,
right?
It's not going to be the Harrier Dubois of the world or the Joyces of the world that solve it. It's going to be these kids.
Yeah. And you can decide if that is cheesy. You can decide if that works because it's cheesy. But yeah, I'm kind of a fan of at least the idea that this is something that can help them outrun the thing that is chasing us all down. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not going to turn down Hope in Disco Elysium. It's
no.
Hope is one of my favorite, like this game does that better than, almost any game that I can think of.
No.
Like,
Is it confirmed? So with Suna, and her kind of connection to the game dev studio and the catastrophic data loss that happened, is it confirmed that like they were sending it and it just happened to get sucked in by this little black hole of the Pale?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because the other thing that this suggests that's really interesting, because there's no conclusions, but you can suggest it.
Right.
Is you can talk about how that is actually the reason why Revachol is in the condition it's in.
Okay.
Like they're losing information. This is a nexus of failure. And it's not just the failed business district or this crumbling church. It's also the revolution itself.
Right.
And you can kind of, try to figure out the chicken and the egg. Like, did all of this conglomerated failure cause a hole in reality, or is this hole in reality causing all this failure in a way that's very similar to like Shadowrun Hong Kong?
Right.
As an idea. It's and basically and you can kind of just list all these horrible things that have happened here. All these entropic effects as something like a place that is just closer to entropy than it should be.
Yeah. It's, everything is teetering on the edge because this is the edge. Like, and this is why things are falling. Right.
Yeah. And you can bring up the dice maker, be like, there are people, there are people who are successful in this. And like when you're talking to Suna, like one of the things is like, well, it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
Like it's not all we can really get is temporary victories.
Yeah.
In the face of this. So it kind of it doesn't really make a conclusion. It just presents these different philosophies.
I love how appropriate it is that, the fact that it's a dice maker who is successful for right now, but Suna says like, you roll the dice enough, you're going to, eventually over time, you're likelier to fail. I love that it is the dice maker who is like literally presented as both the example and counterexample for this idea. It's very good.
Well, and like a dice maker, there's spiritual like elements of that.
Yeah.
To this idea. Like the idea that the dice maker is the one who is saying, the person who creates the things on which fate tumble is saying that we're all just protected by coincidence. It's nothing. It's just like, it's very rich.
Yeah. That's what I'm keying in on, is kind of the spiritual angle of that.
Yeah. Rich video game.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
Also good is how you get your gun back. I'll kind of talk about dealing with the pigs. So if you think back, one of the leads for your gun was to talk to the pawnbroker and say like, there was a woman who came in who said something about like, I'm a pig, or, just something about the pigs. And, one thing that you can find out by mailing the letter that Everett told you to sign, sending that out, Everett says like, there is this crazy old woman who calls herself the Pigs, who bought it from the pawn shop. Crazy old woman is, the term that is used here. It's in the game. So you can go and meet her that night. And so you're going to have to wait for that to happen. Since we are dealing with Everett here, you can also, ask him like, hey, what do you have to do with the body? And he says, the body, the reason why we never took it down and the reason why we're kind of like playing this is because it's very, very convenient that the body is going to let us start this war. What he wants to do is like, hey, this harbor and therefore Martinet and this part of Revachol, it's all owned by Wild Pines, and if we have this war, we can make this clean break. We can reclaim the harbor for the people who live here, and ultimately set up this new this new economy that is powered not by the shipping volume that, Wild Pines provides, but by basically entering the drug trade. Kind of going through this, becoming a gray market mover of all of these drug chemicals, that are illegal in some places but are illegal in others. And basically say like, yeah, it's all purpose chemicals all the time. It doesn't matter if this is for illicit drugs or for actual medications. This is what will give at least Martinet, but the Union specifically, their own economic independence. Yes, independence and power.
Yeah. Pretty scummy.
Yep,
because they're going to sacrifice a lot of people for that wasp in a beehive.
Yes.
So you get the meat at this point. Like, again, I watched this. I didn't do it. To go in the fishing village to find the pigs. And the pigs is this very pathetic figure. It is a woman who is waving the gun around, and she's got a hand cranked siren on her back. Then it almost looks like a Dark Souls enemy or something.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's very Dark Soulsy. So she's like cranking the siren. She's covered. She basically is wearing this turtle shell made out of red and red and blue sirens, like the flashing lights on her back. And she is just a walking cacophony. She looks like a Dark Souls villain, and she is, or Dark Souls enemy. The villains would be a little bit more put together, but she is like screaming in her, her specific delusion is that she represents the entirety of the police force, and she is yelling alongside the siren all of this police procedural language about a confrontation that is only going on in her head.
Yeah,
it's very sad.
When you're empathetic, you kind of learn like her kid, she has a degenerative motor disease. And you learn that like she just started going bad. And there's like this really heartbreaking empathy line in this string, which is like when things started getting bad, her kids and the kids of her kids stopped coming around.
Jesus.
It's really, really sad. Like she is just lonely. You can try a couple different tacks to talk her down, saying like, oh, we are your backup. Like we are the police, like pretending like she is the police is the way to do it because she believes this. The reason she believes it is because she's kind of constructed her own little world out of listening to like propaganda, basically like listening to police procedurals. Eventually you can try to go for the gun. If you don't make it, she tries to shoot you, but it's not loaded. Of course, the pawn shop is not going to sell a loaded gun.
Right.
And she goes into a catatonic state at this point.
Yeah.
She keeps saying like, cop guns have bullets.
Right.
Why did they sell me this thing? It didn't have bullets. Like, it's really heartbreaking. Like,
yeah.
It's fucking sad.
She goes through it. Okay. So cop guns have bullets. This is not a cop gun. Having this doesn't make me a cop. Then what am I?
What am I? Yeah. It's really, really heartbreaking shit.
Yeah.
But you can get your gun back here. You can also get your hat back from here. And you can ask about, you can also, she has drugs on her. And your initial thing is you think she's on drugs, but then your electrochemistry can be like, nah, she's not. Yeah. And when you take them, you're like, oh, she confiscated those because she thinks she's you. She thinks she is doing your job.
Yeah.
The kind of good ending to this is to talk to the Hardy Boys about her because they might know her family.
Right.
Yeah.
She can't be out there at night. Something terrible is going to happen to her. I let her keep my hat. Like I was not going to take that away from her. Although like feeding into her delusion, probably not the healthiest thing, in the long run, but yeah. I'm just going to put this here because this happened at the end of day 3 for me. But I really like the day 3 dream sequence where your reptilian brain and your limbic systems are taunting you, saying like, hey, you're spinning on empty, you're going mad, and this world is in a loop. And as you're talking about this, they're just kind of like alluding to, what broke in you, why you had this episode and why you feel this way. They talk about like all these things that you're doing, solving the case. It won't put smoke back in her mouth. And you ask why. And the limbic system, I believe, just basically says, 'cause only love can break your heart. And he sings it like it's the chorus of that Neil Young song. Giving you more of giving you more confirmation of what exactly is going on with Harry emotionally.
Did you end up doing karaoke at any point?
Yes, we can talk about that here. I don't know that I made a note of it just because like you find the tape over in the fishing village.
Yeah.
Did you pass the check or did you fail it?
I failed it.
Oh, I failed it so bad.
I like failing it more than I like passing it.
Yeah.
I watched the passing it screen. But this is, this is a good time to talk about this because the two voices are your reptilian brain or your limbic system sing, depending on whether you pass or fail.
Right.
This thing. And I love the sequence. You can tell, I had done some stuff for Gart, like I'd gotten him a different bird from the Sea Village and stuff like that's a really minor quest, but I'm like, try this bird.
Yeah.
Things like that. So he allowed me to do karaoke. And a weird thing, this also underlines, there's a weird little bit of the game assumes you'll have Kim for everything.
Okay.
I ended up doing karaoke when Kim was not there. He was putting the body back.
Okay.
But he still referenced it in the end.
Yeah.
So Cinema Sins. Ding.
The entire work's invalid. Bye, everybody.
Yep. Ding, ding. Cinema Sins. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, 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 ding. But you go and you find this song about the last lonely little church or something like that. It's an actual British Sea Power song. And I love the way this articulates because if you check out your surroundings, you get detriments to your task, not bonuses.
Right.
Which is the opposite of everything else in the game where like taking it slow and gathering more information helps you.
Yeah.
But karaoke is something you should just lean into and do. It's not something you should sit down and look at the people watching you.
It's not something for the self-conscious.
Yes. And me kind of examining everything made me more self-conscious. So I failed the check. And then you off-key caterwaul the song.
Yeah.
And if you fail it, if you do the reptilian version, you kind of speak, sing, growl it in a way that
like
just
a Tom
sounds
Waits
menacing
thing?
and
Yeah.
it's the reptilian brain voice. Like it's like Tom Waits, but scarier and eviler. Brother, it's very menacing and gross.
Yeah.
So I think I'm on team fail karaoke.
Yeah.
For you, but it is very off key.
Yeah, it's very off key, and there's no way to skip through it. Like, there's no way to fast forward it.
Nope.
It's very long too. So I was like, yeah, I understand. I get the point here. But it leads to this kind of like very sweet moment with Kim. Where like everything, like the union people are yelling at you to shut the fuck up. Your partners who are there in disguise are like, oh my god, this is just a travesty. You can talk to Kim about it and ask what you think, and he'll say, oh, I liked it. And your senses can say like, oh, he's lying to you. It just you did awful, and he knows you did awful. He's just being polite. But like eventually later, it comes out like Kim says, no, I liked it because it was imperfect. Like I could tell you felt it.
So moving on to day 3, if you have the map, you can then go and kind of figure out what those different angles are. So you have a little quest on where to check out for the bullet. Going looking for them. One of them you can't get to yet. You go to Land's End, and it's useful knowing about Land's End because you can take the Lilia for a date here.
Oh yeah.
At some point, but you can't get to the other one, and it doesn't look like someone used a gun here.
Right. There's no.
So you're still kind of thinking it's the deck or it's the roof, but again, 72% chance, likely, but not necessary.
Yeah, not a sure thing. With the information that we have about Ruby, having gotten into her truck, seeing the gas pedal with the sandpaper, and noticing the all of the smuggling equipment and the radio and things, you can go and press Titus about this, and talk with him about her infatuation with Clausier and this potential secret path to the roof, which he is skeptical about. And he eventually breaks, saying that like Ruby ran off like right when I got here, like a week ago before your amnesia, because, along with you came your reputation. You are a can opener is what you are, is what they call you. And what that ultimately means, like they think this is really menacing. They figure like, hey, you're going to come in and start fucking people up. No, what it means is you just get people to open up to you, just like you got Thomas to do right here.
Yeah, just by asking questions.
Yeah.
But you have this reputation as being something way more menacing because your precinct is at least semi-corrupt. And this kind of starts this thing with you trying to be like, am I actually one of the goons for this organized crime thing?
Yeah.
And you can later find out that you would have been, but that you were too unstable to be approached. You know, like, so you're actually, again, like, you are an uncorrupt cop in a world where that's really rare. Like, all this evidence that you're actually, like, you know, a better person than you let on. For this.
Yeah.
You can ask him about the weird radio frequencies she uses. And he says, you know, she's talking about building a pale emitter.
Yeah.
They don't know what that means, and you don't know what it means.
It's
we will
important,
find
though.
out soon enough. Yeah. Yeah. So she's like, well, she's probably somewhere on the coast, they say. So now this starts this kind of long and a little bit meandering quest of just finding where she's at.
Yeah.
Checking places. And the game will even says, like, Kim will be like, yeah, we just kind of have to check places. Let's start with the doors we can open and then move on to the doors we can't.
Right.
You know, let's just be procedural about this. This is the work.
So you can go and talk to the washerwoman. She's kind of at the center of the fishing island culture there. But she won't talk. I love the line she says, this world doesn't work when people tell.
Yeah.
You know, which is a little bit like, it's a bit of an echo of what happens when you're talking to Thomas about Clausier. And he says, like, yeah, you know, if people here have their past held against them, then nothing can stay. Right.
Yeah. Yep. And that obviously ties into the themes of Harry, like being free, you know, torment, you know, stuff like you don't be constrained by the person you were yesterday.
Yes.
You know, in the little shack that she gave you, which we didn't explicitly talk about, but you can get a shack. You can find a single bullet, and you know that, you know, empathy and Aspire Decor kind of tells you this was Ruby, you know, and you can kind of confront the washerwoman with this. And she's like, yeah, like Ruby does rent the place from time to time. She was there Friday to Sunday, but she left on Monday before you showed up.
Yes.
This is also where you can shave in this place, and do not do it. You look extremely ugly and compromised.
Keep the sideburns on. They get less sad in context as the story goes on.
Yes. Yeah, they're extremely sad without them.
Yeah. So you can say goodbye. And for me, Inland Empire, you know, popped up right as I was saying bye to the washerwoman, saying, hey, you know, like, go look at the Feld electric mural again, where Trant was, you know, explaining all this stuff, saying, like, hey, go look at that closer this time. When you get there, I think this is the only mandatory check in the game. Possibly.
No, you don't have to make this check.
Okay.
So this is what will tell you. So Ruby's in the basement of the Feld electric building.
Yeah.
And you can find that out if you check other places in town. Eventually, you can go up here and say, like, we need to check this building.
It's like process of elimination. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not mandatory, but Shivers just kind of tells you. I find this a little bit sloppy.
Yeah.
That your magic power just says, hey, the thing you're looking for is there.
Right.
You know, and this is your point of no return, actually, as well. It's worth noting that.
Right.
The game will tell you this. Like, at some point shortly after this, they'll say, hey, if there's anything you want to wrap up, you should do it.
Yeah.
Because the game's going to kind of be on rails a little bit from here on out. Regardless of whether you get here because you passed the check or if you just done process of elimination, you need to get up on the roof. There's not an entrance you can get in the front door,
right?
But you think you might be able to get in there, and there's a very rickety ladder.
I love this.
This is really great.
Kim is
very funny.
Kim is not willing to climb it. It's like, hey, we're no good to anybody if our legs are broken. And there's really no practical way that you could do it either. And one of the options available as you're thinking about your options is think, oh, I can try to teleport.
Yeah, because of course you can.
Yeah, I've never tried, so maybe I can teleport. And I passed a savoir-faire check, and Harry closes his eyes, like the screen blacks out, and you teleport, and you end up at the top of the building. And I'm like, yeah, there you go. And Kid Kim is like, okay, that was impressive. And he says, you know, just for the record, you didn't teleport there. You just climbed the ladder really quick with your eyes closed.
Yeah. Very, very funny. As again, that plausible deniability about anything supernatural,
right.
You know, happening. And then this reminded me of Douglas Adams, like the way to fly is to throw yourself at the ground and miss. You know, a little bit, which I've always liked.
Yeah, I like that.
So you can now get in here and let Kim in through this service door. He finds another way. I open up the door, and he had found another way in already through this little side passage, so we can come back here if we want to. It's a set of tunnels. On the way to the tunnels, you can find this little side cave
Yeah.
full of communard propaganda and stuff, which I was expecting to be related to this, but it is a little bit of a red herring.
Yeah. It's it works in, but it's not ultimately like determinative of what happened.
No.
But yeah, like this was a little propaganda, like a propaganda shelter.
It's a little foreshadowing about the real murderer.
Yes. This is where you can pick up a Nushanka, like the furry Russian hat, and put it on. And if you have not picked up the communism thought so far, then you know putting this on will let you pick it up if you would like to. Yep. But yeah, the critical path here is to continue going deeper into the tunnels until eventually the screen flashes and you stop, and both Kim and Harry reach up and they grab their head in pain. They are being assaulted by some kind of just painful radio frequencies. This is that thing that Thomas told us Ruby was building, this pale emitter. And she's using it against us as we try to ask her questions.
Yeah. Bombarding you with nothingness.
Yeah.
In the form of radio signals. Again, huge Grant Morrison energy.
Yeah.
Like to this whole game. And we can kind of talk to her. She denies doing the shooting. Yeah. She says, like, listen, this compressor's bad, but it's not as dangerous as this tribunal is about to be. Like, a third mercenary has come to town, and this is going to be a bloodbath. Like, this is the serious thing. Don't stop wasting your time with me. You can say, well, oh, no, you were in love with Kloshki. And she's like, no, I liked her, but I wasn't going to kill for her.
Right.
I knew what to do because I had a bad feeling about that guy, but it wasn't because this was premeditated. The shot couldn't have come from the roof. Because people would have heard it downstairs. We did not hear anything, and we had at this point, I got the bullet out of the mouth, so I knew what type of gun it was. I knew it wasn't going to be a silencer thing. It was it could be a Revolutionary era gun.
Gotcha.
A certain kind. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I knew that it couldn't have been silenced. And we say like, oh, why didn't you kill him? And she says, like, listen, I'm not going to stick around because you were on the way. Like, you're a Laputa Madre agent. Like, you're going to kill me because I know how you guys work. You're corrupt cops.
Yeah. And so, like this, because you're uncertain about it, is it's enough to give you a lot of doubt, and you're really relieved to find out, like we said at the end, that you're not corrupt like you think you are. She says that, okay, like, I went into, I moved into motion when Klasia told me about this because, it was worth protecting her. But the idea to stage a lynching, that was Klasia. Like, she was ice cold about all of this. Like, yes, she was drugged because she had done coke before she went down, but like, she knew like that this belies just a much more sinister background in espionage than she let on. The fact that she was this impersonal about it. Yeah. She is. She's been lying to you this entire time. Yes.
Total femme fatale style. Somewhere in here. I failed a check, and she shot herself.
Oh, geez.
My Ruby murdered herself in front of me. I tried to talk her down and let her go, but I failed the check for it. And she killed herself.
Did you?
And this can do a non-game over, non-standard game over. You can tell Kim, like, I can't handle this. I quit.
Oh, wow.
And you can like literally quit the game from seeing it.
Wow. So she would rather shoot herself than deal with Laputa Madre. She still firmly believes. So
I couldn't convince her that I wasn't a monster. Like, I failed the dice roll. Like, it wasn't, Gary clicked bad. It was Gary clicked good, and the dice maker was indifferent.
Did you pass the check, like, to shoot the to shoot the emitter to turn it off?
I don't recall. This is stuff I did in my first playthrough, so it's been a few weeks.
Yeah.
I don't exactly recall.
I think succeeding in that check is what puts you on the path to her killing herself.
That definitely could be it.
Yeah, I failed it, and because I was still locked in place, she had the opportunity to gather what she needed and then leave.
I know you can let her go too. I know you don't have to. You can, if I had shot, I didn't shoot it because I didn't have a gun, but I think I might have dove for it.
Yeah, I think there's something you can throw too.
Yeah. If you get it, you can turn it off and let her go. It's not like turning it off means she will kill herself and not turning it off means she escapes on her own. Like you can actually willfully let her go as well.
Right.
This was the thing I told you about where I kind of ameliorated Tom, what's his head? The nice dude.
Right.
His thing is I went back and lied to him and told him that she got out. Cause I couldn't, like, he's like, hey, did you meet up with her? And I want to be like, and Kim like gives you the eyebrow.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to tell this guy that she killed herself because of us.
Right.
So I was just like, yeah, she escaped.
Yeah.
So
who's it going to hurt? Who's it going to hurt if we lie to him about this?
Yeah. A good white lie at this point.
Yeah. Well, I also told him that, but it was the truth for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
again, secret ingredient to good nuanced games is allowing you to lie.
So good. So regardless of how she leaves the stage, all that's really left behind is her squad down here. You know, she has set up a tent. She's got this journal, which is full of all of her logistics, you know, just her timetables and things for the drug trade. But also she has some personal notes, which you can go through and decode, and, you know, reveals like she suspects that she is being framed, though she thinks that this is unlikely. That's exactly what was happening. Claudia was trying to, you know, throw her under the bus.
Yep. This is one of my favorite, like all the sequences from here on are all my favorite sequences in the game.
Right.
Basically, like this is all so fucking A+ as to be extra credit. On your way back, like we're in serious time now.
Yes.
And I did not know this. At some point, if you have the horrific necktie and you've kept that on, it says like, hey, put me inside the bottle of blue medicinal spirits.
Yes.
You know, and it stops talking to you at this point. Like it's serving its purpose.
Right.
Ultimately. And as you head back, it'll also say, I didn't have a gun. So I got Ruby's gun after she killed herself. And it told me to, so that's the way the game cleverly makes sure you have a gun, during this part. And my, you know, senses told me, hey, put on a gun, like carry a gun.
Yeah.
And we get to the standoff. When we get back to Martinez, you know, the mercenaries are confronting the Hardys. And this is so good. Like, this is so tense and like just a dialogue boss battle. You know,
it's a, you know, even though, yes, this is combat, there are, you know, explosions and gunfire, but it is all done through these checks. And like, once action starts happening, it is all in like this slow motion montage of, you know, extreme focus on the things that matter for the given check. Yes. It is presented so good.
Yeah. This can go down a lot of different ways.
Yes.
So looking at the notes, like I had a pretty different experience than you did during this, where I was able to, because I had talked to the scab leader before about the atrocities, and also because I had run a check. I got can't remember exactly where I got it, but I got the guy's real name. The victim. So you run a check on him and get information about him, and you can learn about his past. And it's really tragic. Like he was found in a wood chipper that was not turned on. Like somebody abandoned him, and he's actually the scab leader's brother, foster brothers. They were both in the same foster home.
The victim, Lily. Yeah,
the victim and the scab leader. So you can start applying this. You can be like, hey, you know, and your senses will talk to you and be like, mention the wood chipper now.
Okay.
You know, like do this thing. And you kind of have a battle for that guy's soul with his other unit, his other mercenaries being on, you know, the devil on his shoulder and you being the angel on his shoulder. I didn't pass everything here, but I ended up kind of talking him down in order to not have quite as much lost life.
Right.
In the end. Like there's a big gradient of people who can die.
Okay.
In this scene. And if enough people die, it is a failure.
Okay. So I didn't get any of that. Like I was not able to de-escalate this really at all. And something that works, you know, against you in that, you know, that makes this trickier is the fact that, you know, you've got all of these, you know, Hardys, and they are, you know, they outnumber the mercenaries, but they're outgunned. But the mercenaries themselves, they're all piss drunk. Like
absolutely. Yeah.
Which makes them far scarier because they're way more unpredictable, and they do not respond in the way that, you know, they do not respond in a way that makes sense, because they are compromised. You can point this out and it doesn't really matter because they were ready for a bloodbath no matter what. The third mercenary who is here, Rude Honkloen.
Well, this is the fourth one.
Oh,
we knew about 3, and it upsets the balance that they're actually 4. They have like their sniper.
Right.
Who's here? Yeah.
But yeah, like he's here and he's not really like talking intelligibly. He's their sniper. And you know, like this is not going to go. For me, I fail all my checks. You know, to solve this through dialogue, right? And ultimately it's going to come to blows. And for me, the fact that I had the bottle of spirits with a horrible necktie in it, it turns into a Molotov cocktail, or as it's called in the game, the spirit bomb.
Yeah, the spirit bomb.
Yeah, which is a real good Dragon Ball Z reference they threw in there. If
you don't do the spirit bomb, I actually ended up making when everything started going down. I did not click the spirit bomb option, and managed to shoot the guy through the eye hole of his helmet.
Holy shit!
Just every once in a while, you make one of those natural 20s. You know, in this game, and it was a nice moment. The extraneous fatality I had was the lawyer got shot early on.
Oh wow!
In this because of a check.
So
she bled out.
They attempted to shoot her, but they missed for me.
Yeah, they hit. It's really great. It's really die rolly, like what's going to happen here. When things actually finally start going down here, you can dodge a first bullet, but you don't have to. You don't necessarily do it. And then there's the one check you can't succeed in the game. It's the only forced check in the whole game, is getting shot the second time by the sniper. By the rifleman. When Kim comes up to talk to you about this, the radio operator's leveling her gun at him, and you can warn him. This is great. It's an authority check, and just seeing the little modifiers, which was +1, Kim trusts you,
I love it so
+2,
much.
Kim really trusts you.
It's so good.
And I was like, I'm doing right by my good boy.
Yeah, I saved him. All of this work comes to this moment. We're going to emerge. We're going to get through this, man. We're going to emerge victorious.
Like if it is a world with Kim Kitsuragi in it, it's worth living in.
Yeah.
You know, like I love this character so much. So saving his life is like the proudest act I did in the game.
Yeah.
You know, but you get shot regardless of which, and you black out at this point. And I was certain this was the end of the game.
Oh yeah. It's such a climax.
It's not. Yeah. But I was certain this was it because it's such a climax, but the game does more because it's cool and clever.
Right. Well, because the mystery has to be solved. Like, you know, we're going to find out what it is. One little detail about this that I love, you know, so when you throw the spirit bomb, you know, which ultimately hits the scab leader and melts his face off, really escalates things. Like I had fatalities on my side. I think 2 of the people died, including Angus. It was like Angus and the old guy were the people who died on my side, and all of the let's just say that all of the mercenaries got closed casket kind of deal. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah. But as you're throwing the spirit bomb, you can talk to the tie as it's, you know, in the air. You know, this is the tie that has been with you forever, and you can actually like ask, like, you know, you say like, you know, who broke my heart, and he says, "You both did, Bratan." Deep down, you know, it was the both of you. Yeah, love it.
Yep, rough stuff. So you wake up.
Yeah.
In the next day, the harbor is now on lockdown. You know, like the violence did not spread. The mercenaries were sent home, but the danger's not over,
right?
Because they're not gonna, sleep with us. And Kim is the one who woke you up, and your room is entirely clean. Gart, the human Kickstarter portrait, cleaned it up while you were sleeping, which is very sweet. You know, after being so mad. Yeah. And he basically says what happened.
Right.
Thanks you for saving his life.
Yeah. And I love this moment because, you know, it's morning and he, you know, pulls out a cigarette and he starts smoking. You say like, "Oh, I thought you only smoke one a day." And he says, "Yeah, this is the one." So
yeah.
Again, this is like, he is stressed out, but not so much that he is going to break his rule.
Yep. You can, talk about like why the station, you were shot. Why did none of my coworkers, show up? And there's no good answer for this.
Right.
They didn't send anyone to help you, and you can confront them about this later. You were shot in the thigh, and Kim nursed you back to health. kind of fix your leg. One little bit as you're on your way out, you can walk through Kim's room, which I really just love the contrast of like your room and his when you eventually see that. Yeah. There's a major diversionary point here, which I did not have a save that was appropriate to grab it.
Okay.
But it's worth saying that you can let Kim die here.
Right.
This is way more common than I thought it would be, at least according to the Slack.
Okay.
And if you do, Kuno is here and nursed you back to health.
Yeah.
And is your companion for the rest of the game. I did not see this. But from what I understand, it is a little less satisfying, of course.
Right.
But that is kind of the other companion you can get.
Yeah. Yeah. He will be with you as you go and ultimately solve the mystery. Even though it looks like, all of our leads are all of our leads are gone because of, just the way everything worked out. All that we have is this last Hail Mary, which is you can go into Classia's room and there's a note on her desk saying like, hey, see you at the return, again, when this, when the revolution comes back. And she says, P.S. I didn't kill him. And then P.P.S. gift upstairs. When you go up there, you can see that Classia has rigged up using red string and tape, the bullet trajectory. Between the from the window to the window, the wall, and then where the sweat dripped off the balls.
Yes.
No, and from the window to the antenna where it passed by, and it points to where it happens. The one place where the shot came from, the one place that you couldn't get to, which is this little island in the bay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is again just showing that she's much more like Black Widow. Like she is a super spy.
Yeah, she's doing ballistics analysis. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Mm-hmm. You go downstairs, you talk to, Gart. It's very soft.
Yeah.
He appreciates you stopping everything from being destroyed. Mm-hmm. You talk to Titus. He also appreciates you. Yeah. And you can shake his hand and basically say like, hey, if you ever want to become a legit cop, like, come work with us. And he's like, maybe I will. Like it's very, winning over this gave me a big feeling of camaraderie.
Yeah. Well, I loved it because he says, maybe I will. And if you ever get tired of the suits, come on down here and be a Hardy Boy. Like, I love that.
Yeah. And you're like, maybe I will. Like, it's very sweet. Like I got it. Fucking,
mutual respect between professionals. Yes.
Yes. It's really good. Yeah. Like it felt earned. It felt earned. Why does that never happen in video games where it feels like this is the kind of thing that happens at the end of video games all the time where somebody is just like, actually, I like you. And it never feels like you actually went through the shit for it. Like this kind of thing happens all the time. And I don't give a shit because it never feels like
it never feels right.
The work was put in.
Yeah.
And it makes the work. Like one of the huge things about Disco Elysium, like a metaphor I stumbled upon for something else the other day, is that it really bakes the cake.
Yeah.
Like, and what I mean by that is that a lot of, I was watching It's Always Sunny and the part where Frank has to eat all the ingredients of a cake to get out of the dog kennel.
Yeah.
A lot of games give you the ingredients of a cake, right? Like, here's the egg, here's the flour and stuff. But Disco Elysium bakes the cake.
Yeah.
Like all of my favorite art does the actual work to process this and makes me, actually have to kind of appreciate it in its whole rather than just kind of see like, well, these two characters fell in love for no real reason, but I guess if I buy that, then this statement makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm not being asked to like buy anything stupid in this. Like once you buy in on the Starman premise, if you can get over the amnesia, part of this and the kind of magical realism tone, then everything else they actually put in they show their work like a motherfucker.
Yeah. And like this isn't correct me if I'm speaking for you and speaking out of turn, but this isn't you saying like, oh, it is a virtue for a game to cut up and chew your steak for you. This is not, when we say like, oh, it bakes the cake, it's not like they are doing all of the work for you. Like really though, like what that means is they're doing the baking because you're never really asked beyond that first miracle to extend the benefit of the doubt unreasonably. The game is generous to you. It does not expect you to be generous to it in your evaluation.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you can, you do not have to meet this more than halfway at any point.
Right.
In those terms, it's never just giving you a statement like, heartbreak is bad.
Yeah.
Like breakups are hard. It's always synthesizing that in the form of stories. So the theming that happens between you and Titus is incredibly resonant, but it is basically mutual respect and friendship.
Yeah.
Which is the theme of 80% of video games that have friends in them, but they all fuck it up because I don't believe the relationship. It's just these characters started as friends and they'll end as friends, and the game's telling me they're friends.
Yeah.
You know, like it has the cadence of friendship, but it doesn't feel earned.
Yeah.
And here we actually see the process happen. You know, like they're showing the work. Like, I guess it's more like it includes the recipe.
Yeah.
You know, almost like the metaphor doesn't necessarily work great, but I'm just saying there's something about how this game does not ask you to just believe like, hey, you know, Chrono and Luca are really good friends.
Yeah. It's
you know, like they don't act like friends. They don't make jokes to each other. They don't have like, why are they friends? I can buy it because it's children's media,
right?
But why, you know, this shows the work,
yeah,
in a way that's just really, really powerful.
This is borne out like in other creative works, specifically in architecture. There's the concept of the duck, which is, you know, there are two reasons that a building could be called the Duck. One is it is a rectangular anonymous building that has a sign on it that says Duck, or it's a building that was designed to look like a duck. Here, this is, you know, this is the character that was designed to actually be a friendship, not something that had a sign on it that said these are friends.
That said friendship. Yeah. Like, this person is good because the game is telling me it's good. This character is a friend because the game is telling me it's a friend. I'm attracted to this person because the game is telling me. Like, no, it actually it lives its kind of truth. Yeah. With this, and it's just like, why is that rare? Like, it's not rare in any other medium. It's not rare in stories. Like, it's not rare on TV. It's not rare in movies. Yeah. Like, why is it so fucking rare in games?
Just laying track is hard. And I think that there's just an awful lot of either a lowered expectation, or there are resources or expertise that are applied elsewhere. You know, in the process of making this thing. And I think that this was developed, you know, to be so story forward, but they had the secret sauce of saying the story and the mechanics are going to be basically inseparable.
Yeah. And we're not going to take shortcuts with a story. Like, this is incredibly like novelistic and literary game. You know,
like, so the way we're going to do it
is the peer.
The way we're going to do this is to generate a Herculean amount of text. And have it tied to just a baffling number of dependencies in this huge matrix that is always being kept track of. That we're going to accomplish this by doing the impossible.
And when tying this into a classic Gary Butterfield canard, I really like that most of the dialogue in this isn't voice, and I think that is a direct side product of this.
Yes.
Right? Like, games that are deep RPGs where everything is voiced, I have not felt this kind of work being shown. And it is very easy for me to believe part of that is because they need to voice everything.
Right.
You know, so you end up with Jade Empire, where a character, instead of demonstrating like their depth, like a Kim Kitsuragi, where like Kim Kitsuragi is not just like he likes open palm things and hates closed fist things. Like, he's much more complicated than that. And you can only do that through words. Yeah. Like, you do that through lots of words, and you can't do that many words if every word is voiced. Right. And if you do, there's a body count. Like, if you do, people die making it. Right. You know? So it just fucking A, man. Like, I need video games to get their act together. Yeah. Like, it's so disappointing sometimes.
Imagine writing a script for a thing, knowing that every additional line that you add is going to like be reflected in the budget. Right. Yeah. Reflected non-trivially in the budget. What kind of decisions are you going to be making, you know, to optimize like the actual like production process? Like, what are you going to sacrifice if every word is expensive? You know, text is not easy, but it's basically close to free. You know,
it's the cheapest thing there is.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why, you know, if you're just getting started, and like, people make text adventures and Twine games and stuff with no budget. Right. You know, text is free. It's also the most powerful thing there is. Like, this friendship moment and stuff we're going to talk about as we continue in the game had more emotional impact than any image in a game I've ever seen. Right. Like, you can do a lot with impressive technical things, but it's not nearly as powerful as just really good words. Yeah. You know, that's a cliche, you know, but it's a true cliche. And it's one games don't lean into, because games writing uniformly is like not great. You know, like there are really well written games. There are games that are serviceably written. Yep. I tend to be a lot of games I think are serviceably written, but I'm never going to get this kind of feeling from, just seeing a vista.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to crest a hill in the Ghost of Tsushima and be like, yes, this means as much to me as, no matter how many blades of grass are animated or what is happening with the God rays, it's never going to actually do that because it's cheap. It's a simple carb.
Yeah.
It's not a cake, it's sugar. But this is a dish. Like this is put together.
Yeah. I almost wish that this game didn't move me to tears, actually. Because it would be easier. No, I'm serious. Like
I know it's just a funny sentence.
I wouldn't. So I wouldn't trade the experience that I have with this. Like this resonated with me really, really deeply, and it made me cry. Okay, but saying that and saying like, oh yeah, like that this will move me to tears. It feels like hyperbole, right? And it almost like flattens the analysis of what happens here. And kind of like sums up that like, even if I'm not saying that being moved to tears is the highest achievement that can, the highest result that can be achieved by a good work of art, even if I'm not saying that's true, that's kind of what, what's taken away.
There's an implication.
Yeah. When what's happening here is so much more like multivariate, there's more like to the spectrum of this that is broken out than bringing you to tears. But it gets flattened when you say like that it hit that height, and I think that go ahead.
Yeah, people say that about Eris dying, right? Like it gets flattened because people deploy it incredibly easily, and I'm not here to tell people they're wrong for having that emotional reaction to that. I'm here to say I did not have that emotional reaction to that. I did have this emotional reaction to this. For me personally, I need a lot more of this in my games and a lot less of the plot demanded this person die.
Right.
So it's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
I think the most Gary friendly way to do it. If you want to be more subjective about it. Like, this is what works for me.
There's no denying that they did it this way. And it is impressive and rare. Right.
Yeah. It's incredibly rare, even if you don't like it. Like there are people who are listening to this who want to wedgie us real hard about this conversation. We're going to talk about the Phasmid scene, and we're going to talk about how we teared up. Yep. And there's going to be people who want to just give us a wedgie firing squad. Like just get 6 people, 5 of them have fake hands, so they don't know who really did the wedgie, and they're going to like, just absolutely beat us up for being nerds. But it's like, this is the kind of thing I see deployed in video games all the time. Like people are constantly talking about how they emotionally react to video games. And I've always felt like an alien about it. I've always felt like, God, how are you crying about that?
Right.
Like why, how is this touching your heart? It's so artificial. They didn't put in the work. Like you're bringing so much of yourself to this. Yeah. And this came to me in a way that I feel is so generous and I'm so grateful.
Yeah. I mean, grateful. Like you say that as a joke because grateful, you're doing the Pollyanna game there, but it's, I am grateful for this. Like,
I am grateful.
Yeah. Like this has a very resonant and meaningful thing to say about humanity, which is just, the highest value. Humanity is the highest value.
Yeah, if your art isn't about the human condition, it's probably not worth making. Right. Like that's what art is for. Yep. And this just does a really good job of illustrating things about the human condition that I see people say they're getting from Dragon's Dogma. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like all of that dialogue feels like it was written by a machine learning program. Right. Like how much of yourself are you rounding into this? Like Herculean amounts.
Like that's that is a valid way to engage with that art, like you bring yourself to a lot of things. I bring myself to this, but to say that is, universal, that like, oh yes, this is how everybody is going to see it is just categorically not true.
Yeah, it's. I think that you don't have to put your whole being into something and just, you don't have to fill in all of the cracks. Yeah, like I want to enjoy a medium where I don't have to just pretend like it's doing all it's getting rid of all the remainders on its own. Yeah, like I don't have to just do that for it. Yeah. I don't have to do all the rounding. Like I didn't feel like I had to do rounding in this game. And that's such a rare experience. Fucking A. Yeah. So anyway,
that was all about the bullet point. Titus likes you now.
Yeah. I love Titus.
Yeah.
Those like 10 words. That's the emotion. for it. That handshake is really powerful.
It is. Yeah.
Earned. So you need to get out to this island. And go talk to Lillian. I went and did the date with her.
Okay.
It's not actually very substantial.
Okay.
She gives you her sword, which acts as a kind of a tool, like a bonus kind of thing. But nothing ever really happens with it. And she insists that Kim came as a chaperone. We walked out to Land's End.
Right.
But she will go and take you out to this island, or allow you to borrow her boat to go off to the island. Right. It's also worth noting that Joyce has left at this point. Once things went bad, Joyce got out of there. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. So, she talks about kind of her past with this island, saying like, oh, my deceased husband used to go out there. But my kids have gone too. She has these twin kids who have been mostly just, set dressing up to this point. You can go talk to them, talk to the kids, and they give you some contradicting information about what to expect over there. They have gone there. They've set up fires. They just had like campfires and stuff. There may or may not be electrical lights there. And there's a man, who lives there who told them to put the fire out, but they can't say for sure if he actually lives there, in these ruins that are present.
Yeah. So you head out there, you listen to a song while you're sailing there very slowly. The game is trying to signal we're in the end game, I think.
Yeah.
And you get there, and this is a pillbox from the Revolution. This is a bunker.
Yeah.
You go inside, there's a generator, there are signs of people living here, and there's a bed. Kim says, hey, you're still wounded. Mm-hmm. Like you can take a nap if you want. I did not do this the first time because I was like, why would I take a nap?
Yeah.
No, I did it the second time. I went back and reloaded a save.
Cool.
So it's not that I didn't experience this. Mm-hmm. I wish they had not hid this behind a nap right at the end game when there's a murderer on the loose.
Yeah.
Right after I woke up. Like I came here right after I woke up, and it's like it's an hour later. I'm like, you can take a nap if you want. Like
no,
I don't know. This should have been a dream.
Yeah.
The night that you got shot.
Mm-hmm. You should have been like knocked out, and then this is what you experience before you come back.
Yeah. Like there's no like it is puckish to hide this content, I think. Because it is exceedingly good.
Yeah. But yeah, you absolutely want to take this nap because, I mean, pretty much everything else that happens from here is ultimately about the position that Harry is in and how relatable it actually is, in spite of how alien it seems at first. But this is, this is where we learn. This is where we learn who the lady in white who smells like apricots is. We learn the actual nature of, or at least his internalized nature of the heartbreak that left him in this state. But you lie down and you go to sleep for about an hour, and when you wake up, you're still in the bunker, but Kim is gone. And you start walking. There's a door that takes you out to the beach. You're following your little sense orbs, taking you out there, and ultimately there's a chain that extends out across the ocean, and you walk across it, and ultimately you do not land in Revachol. You land basically you land at a pier in a different place, and you meet Dolores Day. She is standing there, and you can have a conversation with her as she is standing on a curb. The water is the street, and crosswalk lines are extending out.
Yeah, and there's foreshadowing about this. You're in front of a video rental place.
Yeah.
If you use a phone and try to dial things from muscle memory, this is one of the places you'll call, and you can be like, oh, I used to rent videos from here, and this will hurt you. Yeah. Because everything related to your ex-girlfriend hurts you. Yeah. If you dial enough numbers, you actually call your ex. Yeah. That number, and that's a really tough scene. So there's ways you can kind of foreshadow this. Yeah. That's a really, really hard conversation. There are ways you can foreshadow this, but this is in your mind, you have wrapped up the saint figure with your ex.
Yes.
She's leaving you. She's leaving Revachol. It's time to go. It's time to leave the city and leave you. Yeah. And you get to be alone. And you get to be alone how? Like in hell? And and this is how it is, alone in hell. And this conversation can go a bunch of different ways as well. Like you get a lot of different little bits of this, but it's all sad. Like you're just like, why can't you stay? Why can't we talk? And she's just like, what is there to talk about we haven't already talked about? Like this is a very well realized breakup.
Yeah, just where again, you do not have the actual person in your head. You have the version of them, and you are going back to them, this fictional version, and laying out every single case that you could make. And it's not going to change the outcome, of course, because this isn't real. This isn't the past. This is, something about you. This is part of your story.
Yeah. This is a dream.
You can't get her to stay. She has both Dolores and she has the X thing. I love this because electrochemistry gets to deliver some very good lines during this. Electrochemistry, which has been basically been Beavis, never settling down. It's never settling down, constantly telling you to do drugs and be horny. But here,
electrochemistry is Butthead's son.
Crypto electrochemistry. But this is kind of the element. This is where electrochemistry gets to shine. Because this is, it has a role in the way that you process love. This is your brain and the chemicals. And I love what it says here, as you're, looking at her dress, it says 1,000 times you've beaten animal, 1,000 times you've raised that fabric. What is underneath has always calmed you, centered you, and made you sane. Talking about just like it's not coming straight out coming and saying like, yes, she was hot. Like, oh, she was a 10 and you're a 4. But it's saying like, yes, there was a physical aspect to this love that was very fulfilling. And I am this Beavis who is telling you this truth because I can process it.
Yeah. Yep. All of your emotions hurt you during this.
Yes.
None of your skills are on your side during any of this thing, which is, again, I really like being betrayed by that.
1,000 times you've beaten animal. God, I love it.
Yeah, just really, really mean. You can talk to her and she says she has to leave you because you're insane because you've done that job so more. Like, you don't talk like a person. You're always asking questions and making lists.
Yeah.
And you can say like, it's metatextual. You can be like, they're not lists, they're trees. Like they're dialogue trees.
Yeah.
I am getting to the bottom of this case. I am a detective. And you can say, like, you can invoke the job, like it's actually a really hard job. And she's like, no, I know that it's rough. It's a job that makes people sad. Other people get sad, but not like you do.
Yeah.
You stay down so long that you start giving your thoughts names and they start talking to you and you start talking to things. And I think it's your composure or no, suggestion says, go in for a kiss. This is your last chance.
Such a terrible idea. Oh my God.
Well, I'm sad that you failed it because if you succeed in it,
okay.
So you do the thing, you kiss her and she doesn't kiss you back.
Yeah.
You can do all these things and suggestion will be like, hey, ... And you can be like, but I succeeded in the check. And suggestion says, that was a really bad suggestion. You shouldn't listen to me ever again. Like, you should put me in front of a firing squad for that, man.
Oh my God.
Like,
I wish I would have gotten
really
that.
Good.
That is so fucking real. Oh, just the complete, I'm outside self-doubt, the mortification. Oh my God, that is so relatable.
Yeah, it's really good, man. I'm really sorry I done that. I shouldn't have said that. You should never have listened to me.
Yeah.
I was just like, fuck, dude.
Hearing that makes me so giddy. That is so fucking good.
It's really, really good. It's a great line. Just fucking, this whole thing's very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
She moves her hand to her stomach, and she says she's pregnant. And you can say like, it's not mine, or ask if it's yours. You don't know how much time has already passed here.
Right.
And I'm like, it's not mine. And she's like, of course not. I terminated yours. Don't you remember, you poor fuck, you poverty-stricken fuck? Like, she goes and turns to cruel because she is not real. This is a construct.
Yeah, this is
all of your doubts.
Yeah, you have created this thing to bludgeon yourself with, and this is she is telling you what you feel about yourself. And then she like, this is drawing to a close. I love this line that Shivers says, like, this broke me. Like, just really raised Shivers up in my, I liked all of Shivers' prose, but like when it said all the roads will miss her footsteps when she's gone from here, it's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Just like
good.
just the city, like just the loss extends out to just the physical space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Jenny Lee Montreal turned into a sort of ruin when you left. It just, the city is no longer good.
Yeah.
She's a city wrecker now. And you ask at the end, you're like, will I ever see you again? And she's like, oh, I won't see you, but you're going to see me about 3 times per week. Once this dream starts, that's how often it happens.
Yeah.
Like, you've had this happen before. And I'm gonna see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you can say, and I love this. This is one of my favorite lines of the game. You can say, yeah, but this is impossibly bad. And she's like, oh yeah, Like, oh yes, this is real darkness. It's not death or war or child molestation. Real darkness has love for a face. The first death is in the heart. Harry, see you tomorrow.
Fuck.
And like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Man.
What a horrible and relatable.
Yeah. It's not just twisting the knife, it's spinning it around multiple times.
Yeah.
God, just, man, so well put together. Gosh, real darkness.
Everything
has love
from
for a
here on
face.
is like just all triumph.
Yeah.
Like it's so fucking like the Ruby encounter I liked a lot, but from the Tribunal on, these are all the best parts of a video game.
I feel like such a dork just like being giddy about this, but this is the first time I've been able to talk about it and I'm processing it again. So like, I'm gushing, but like, I don't know. I feel this pretty deeply, dude.
Yeah, this is not the most dignified episode of Watch Out for Fireballs, but it is honest. So we wake up, we have a mouthful of blood, and this was a great like little like moment where I was dealing with this and Kim was asking about it and I was just like, let's just solve the fucking case.
Yep.
Like we got to do this. We go outside, and there is a guy here who is out by a fire with a rifle, and this is the murderer. This is the deserter, and it is breaking that rule of detective stories where you have to have seen the murderer before.
Yeah.
When communism pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
This is that. This is Yosef.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is Yosef Lilianovich Dros. And he's very old. And remember, like the revolution happened 50 years ago. But the revolution was put down 50 years ago. Like you come up and he is just, he hands over his rifle without a fuss. He figures I've been beaten and I'm going to have a chance to, tell my story here. He was a political commissar, in the revolutionary, army for the commune of Revachol. And like he joined it when he was 16 and pretty much immediately after that, the revolution was crushed and he's been living here in exile for 43 years and 10 months. I'm a deserter, a partisan, a prisoner of war. This is my termless surrender. So he's a remnant. Yeah. He's like one of the Japanese holdovers in those islands in the Pacific after World War II.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you basically suss out his history and you're still doing a procedural.
Yeah.
You are looking for motive and all these things that you need to arrest him, but it's also just this like interesting and heartbroken story that functions both as like really rich but also almost an intentional anticlimax.
Yes.
Before the game throws the emotional like whammy at you in a second. Between emotional whammies. Yeah. Like the cosmological level, like we're getting in order, we're getting like the local politics climax, the character climax, the political climax, the cosmological climax, and then kind of the final like reality denouement with your unit.
Yeah.
All these different themes are getting their own highlight scene.
Yeah. And like the deserter makes a pretty good villain. He's simultaneously like you can't really like identify with him. He is so, he represents something that in this world is, so not, if not discredited at the very least, it has no leverage, no weight anymore. And he's onerous. He's doing terrible things. But there is a heartbreak because, again, like you said, this is the local politics. He represents like this residue of the past of this particular area that is still around. Like it is a part of the past of Revachol that is made a mark, and like as you're looking at it from his perspective here, you see like, yes, all of Revachol is bombed out. Like you're seeing that like buildings used to be tall, but there are, like it was blown up and it never got built back up. You're seeing bullet holes in the sides of buildings. Like, yes, this is still a place that never ever recovered from the war that this guy lost.
Yeah. And he never ever recovered either. Like he is Revachol.
Right.
And
he's a true believer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He mentions, kind of how he survived. Like he has not coped mentally. You can ask him about that. And he's got years missing, and this is probably being fairly close to the silence or whatever. And he survived by stealing, posing as a hobo, posing as a vagrant, but he hates doing it. He hates doing it because he hates seeing people move on.
Right.
He does not want the war to be over. Like everyone gave up.
Yeah.
And any kind of sustained fight for anything is exhausting. Right. Fast forward as we're recording this on August 4th, Biden gets elected and most people stop worrying.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a bummer. A lot of people are just going to be like, everything is normal and good now.
I can go back to brunch.
Yep. That is going to be the primary mood of the nation. And this is somebody who will not stand for that disgustingness.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like another element of this is, he feels guilty, like he survived when nobody else did. Like he broke. He saw, like he said, like this is when the mask of capital fell. The combined might of international capital all at once, all the greed and terror in the world tore into Revachol. It lifted streets from the ground, it turned houses into ghosts. It was real. I'd seen it in reality. The mask of humanity fell from capital. It has to take it off to kill everyone, everything you love, all the hope and tenderness in the world. It has to take it off just for 1 second to do the deed. And then you see it as it strangles and beats your friends to death, the sweetest, most courageous people in the world. You see the fear and power in its eyes. Then you know.
Yep. Yeah. Heavy shit.
Yeah.
At some point, you take a little break and he's not going anywhere. Like he's hurting.
Yeah.
And Kim says, like, listen, he clearly wants to confess, but he doesn't want to help us.
Right.
Like we're the police. We need to make it clear that he can't get out. You look around the island, you see a sniper's nest and it has a clear view of Kloshki's room. This was the thing that had the least chance to be where the shot was. And it actually was the real one. That reminded me a lot of the end of Transmetropolitan.
Oh yeah.
And when you head back, you talk to him about the confession. We're trying to get a motive.
Right.
He basically says like he couldn't stand it anymore. He saw these mercenaries come in who were just there to stomp on Revachol for the liberal order. He took the shot. He loved it. He took joy in it. And Kim's like, you're always looking through that scope of the rifle. I'm trying to understand. He goes, yeah, rifle scope has the best magnification. And Kim says, if you don't like what you see, you pull the trigger. Like, yes, it's a form of critique. And ultimately that was the motive. It wasn't to hurt this guy. It was that Kloshki disgusted him by finding comfort in this man's arms.
Yes.
He should not have these things that the deserter was denied. It is too unjust that these mercenaries were able to fall into the arms of a good woman after doing everything they had done and what they had planned to do.
Yes. And that is incredibly sentimental. And, he had fallen in love with her, basically, is what this is. So that was the love as well. It was love that did her in, but it was communism that pulled the trigger. Yeah. And, it just like the emotional truth that he felt, which is this heartbreak at being so alienated from everybody. But then the ideological point that the ideology that drove him to ultimately pull the trigger and, and make the kill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you can work him up into a lather too. Like you can talk to him about like, yeah, he's been killing people a lot here. And just because this is Martinez, nobody noticed, like he just goes on and talks about just how everybody here is evil. He talks about how the rich only want to have sex with their children. He even talks about like Everett Clare, like came out to him and tried to, pretend to be to be a comrade. If you are a communist cop, you can talk to him and try and like find common cause. He says, oh, you're nothing but a filthy liberal. You're
a social democrat. You're not a communist.
It's never enough. And like, it pretty much becomes clear that Edgar Clare and Everett worked with him to knock off the person who was in charge of the union before them so they could take over. So like, his presence here is still shaping the political and material reality of Martinez and the union. Yeah. Yeah.
Before we get to this other little bit, just because I forgot about something and I'll kick myself if we don't mention it.
Okay.
Him speaking of how the rich want to have sex with their children, I want to mention the guy who light bends around him.
Okay.
In the container. We talked about this off mic, I believe, right?
It was at the start. I think we were talking about like how you're going to miss things. It was just 3 hours ago.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, it was 3 hours. So it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But just real quick, just because I would feel it's a cool scene. In the Union, and this is such a dumb digression. I wish I had thought of this before to bring this up. But you can go into the shipping container where there's a man who is so wealthy that light bends around him. And that's a great idea. He's incredibly rich. He's really polite. But the laws of the world change around him.
Yeah.
And you can talk to him and get a bunch of money by convincing him to invest in you, or you can try to get him to invest in a doomed project. And the doomed project you bring up is the tabletop game.
Oh yeah.
And he won't do it because he's like, somebody else already talked to me about this and it was a total bust.
Yeah.
I just want, like, again, there's not a whole lot of, like, it gives you this like great thought about the end of capitalism. Like, it ties into this whole little bit that you can equip, but I just want to make sure it's on the record because this game hides its light under a bushel, and I had to watch it online because I could never get that door open. Okay. Back to the real game.
Yes. So he admits to these, to at least this one other murder, right? And like, that's enough. Like you, and there's a great moment with Kim here too, where like he does like a tiny little fist bump, like, yes, we got what we needed. To put him away. And then things get a little bit more magical realism on us, but in a very good way, because off in the reeds, something begins to move, and this little side story that we heard about and either addressed or didn't comes to deliver more morals. The Insilidian Phasmid appears.
Yes. It was there the whole time. It's just really hidden because it disguises itself as water stalks, and it's huge. Like, this is like a 7 foot tall insect.
It looms over you.
Thing. Yeah. And everyone is losing their shit looking at this. Like, you can ask like Kim, like, hey, do you see this? And Kim's like, yeah, I see it. So it's real. Kim is your reality check. This, and you have to have a certain amount of Inland Empire to talk to it. Again, in this game, hiding things from you. You cannot have this conversation, which is wild to me.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah. This is the emotional climax of the game for me. And you talk with this insect here, and it's incredibly sweet and hopeful.
Yeah. I mean, it's alien, and it's such a good, like, a counterpoint put right after the deserter, because the deserter is bitter and hopeless and exists only to kill. Right. He has been losing the war for 50 years and is ultimately cruel. Right. All of his ideology has just become an excuse to kill people. Yeah.
Warped version of itself.
Yeah. But the Insilidian Phasmid,
it's clouded by his like human emotions, even if he wants to be purely ideological.
Yes.
Like, he's doing things out of jealousy, which is not a virtue.
Yeah. But he is an observer. He is at a remove. He cannot talk to people. He cannot interact. And then you have the Insilidian Phasmid, who is also an observer, cannot interact. He is speaking to you pretty much just because you are there and because you are receptive to it. And he has thoughts about what he has seen, and he is going to relay them to you. And this incredibly alien creature kind of ends up being, the mouthpiece for this game's, for this novel's concept of what is important about humanity.
Yeah. The spiritual climax, the cosmological spiritual climax of this. There's multiple things. This can go a bunch of different ways. You have a limited number of questions you can ask it, I believe. And you have those one-way streets. Like, there are ways you can respond.
Yes.
That close things off. And the thing I love about this is that it's just as curious about you as you are about it.
Yeah.
The idea that, humanity spends all its time looking for this cryptid, but it actually really, really is interested in you. One of my favorite, little bits in this is it asks what you are, and you say you're a detective, and it says, I'm a detective too. I try to detect sucralose. What do you detect? And you can say, I detect you. Like, I try to detect, and it's so sweet. Like, I'm just like, God, and it's like a very sweet line.
But you're just talking about just kind of like the basic, the basic realities of your existences. You can say like, oh, I exist in sadness, input after input. And it says, no, I don't have that. All I really have is excitement when I find sugar, unexpected sugar rewards, as it calls it.
Yeah.
And it says, I exist without a soul. and you can decide. I said, like you can, either be envious of that or you can react and be grateful for what you have. I say, I'm happy to be a sensitive instrument. And I just love this line. I know I've been reading an awful lot of passages from this, but this really lands for me, and it says, it makes this observation, it is speaking for all animal kind, basically saying, few of us can begin to imagine the horror of you. With all of creation reflected in your forebrain, it must be like the highest of hells, a kaleidoscope of fire and writhing glass. Love that. Eternal damnation. Even when you're sleeping and when you're awake, you carry it around on your neck. With eyes open that cannot help but swallow more. With eyes open that cannot help but swallow more behind the mirror, I feel great mute empathy toward you.
Yeah, that's really, really beautiful. And again, those arc words can come up. That's what I said too, because I was feeling a spiritual moment in this, but you can say, I don't want to be this type of animal anymore.
Right.
You can echo the thing you cried out in your Oblivion night.
Yeah. Well, and also like here in that description saying like, oh, more than you can swallow behind the mirror, the poem that this is kind of an homage to.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Furies and the
more than
that
you
are
can
at home in the mirror.
Deal with about yourself.
Yeah.
He says, when you fall, we will come to rise you up, bud from you, banner like, blossom from you, and carry you apart in the sky funeral in honor of your passing. But not me, because I'm just a leaf eater.
Yeah. Talking about the carrion bugs that are going to repurpose you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And there's no answer to this. Like you can ask him like what the meaning of life is,
right. Yeah.
Can all we do is beat our fist against it day after day with no answer.
Yeah.
And he says you can also eat it. If it's a leaf, you can put it in your mouth, yum, yum, or a reed. Just very, very beautiful. Like this idea of, something I think about a lot in 2020 is that one of the only surefire ways towards happiness that I can imagine now is narrowing scope.
Yeah.
So like when I use the big part of my brain that reflects all of reality, I'm in a writhing hell and kaleidoscope of fire. But when I say like, oh yeah, but I also get to eat food that I like and have an orgasm every once in a while and like laugh, I'm okay. And that has been my path towards sanity as I've gotten more and more aware of how truly horrendous this earth is.
Right.
And how, the great evil that people are capable of. Like this is just like a laser guided sniper rifle to my heart.
Yeah.
In terms of theming, like man, that's something I've been thinking about for years.
Uh-huh.
Now,
just and it talks to again something that is inherent to human nature, which is self-awareness and a control over experience, that narrowing of scope, or more broadly, a decision that you make to be happy, that is compromised by any number of things, by your lived experience, by your chemistry, any number of ideas. But like to a certain extent, your reaction is your reaction. And if you can assert control over that, then all of a sudden you have tremendous power over the world around you and your state of mind. And that is something that we as sensitive creatures have, that's an advantage of ours if we can become aware of that enough to master it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Very, very sweet. You can ask if it is a miracle and it says, no, like you're the miracle, which again is something that is a cheesy line, but the idea, part of the theme of this game is coming to appreciate, the human experience and the human mind for all of its good and bad. Right. Like I talked about the politics of this, and some people have had like a criticism of this game that it doesn't make a stronger political stance. Like it has a lot of things to say about politics, but it has critique for all major political like wings that it discusses.
Right.
What I think this game is ultimately about is this in the face of that.
Right.
Like that those political imperfect systems that we make with our imperfect brains that inevitably cause harm, even this one that is extremely beautiful in the form of communism, which is a really beautiful idea, is still warped and perverted through this rifle scope. That this guy has just been killing people because of human emotions.
Yeah.
All of that stuff is set dressing. What is important is that you can have amnesia and wake up like Harrier Dubois any day and remake yourself as the person you want to be.
Yeah.
Like that is a miraculous thing.
Yes. Yeah. And it says the moral of our encounter is, I am a relatively median life form, while you are extreme, all engulfing madness, a volatile simian nervous system, ominously new on the planet. The Pale too came with you. Nobody remembers it before you. The Nidarians do not. The radially symmetrics do not. There is an almost unanimous agreement between the birds, and the plants that you will destroy us all. I love that idea. Like I am relatively median, but you are extreme.
Yes.
And we have seen, all kinds of extremes that happen here. And that observation is not, a Ken Levinian point that the extremity in itself is terrible, but that it is the opportunity of humanity that is presented to us, to navigate those extremes ourselves. Oh yeah, we're doing awful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, we had a lot of potential.
It's a opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's at best a opportunity at this point. Yeah, absolutely at best.
Yeah.
You can ask a little bit more about the Pale, and it basically says, we're going to be responsible for ending the world.
Yes.
Here's where the climate change stuff comes in real hard with this, even though I do think that the Pale kind of operates as an omni metaphor.
Yes.
For many things. Before it goes, it tells you that you can have just one more thought with it.
Yeah.
And you can say, you have these options, like the scariest thought, the kindest thought, or the most beautiful, that it is. And you can call it like, you're the kindest being I've ever met, the most beautiful being I've ever met, or the scariest,
Yeah. I call it the most beautiful.
Yeah. I think I said kindest. For mine, but regardless of which, I don't know what happens if you say it's the scariest. It probably does not say thank you. But it says, we have one little piece of advice for you. That woman, turn from the ruin, turn and go forward. Do it for the working class. Like, you got to get over this.
Yes.
And one of the things that makes me, hesitant about the Kuno playthrough is Kim takes a picture. Of it.
He's got his camera.
So you get proof of it. He's got his Polaroid. And then you reach out for it, and it backs away and walks across the marsh.
And it goes away.
This is where it goes away. This is where you get Kajge's forged passport. This is what he stole because he was in love with her. You find his scope, which he mentioned that he misplaced, and you get the mask from the armor, so you can have the complete thing.
Yeah. And with the Phasmid gone, one of the things you could learn when talking about it is that in order to avoid detection, it kind of emits this neurotoxin that is harmless for short exposures, but very dangerous at long exposures. And the deserter has been here for a long time. The deserter kind of visibly ages, whereas he was coherent when he was speaking to you. He is nearly catatonic at this point. He is kind of only mumbling. His mind without that, without the addiction, or without his addiction to that toxin being fulfilled, kind of progresses into dementia. And really, we don't need to do anything
no,
with him.
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. We can just leave and come back.
Yep. So you return to the village, and this is the end of the game. The people from your precinct have shown up, the entire the crew. And this is the climax of that storyline. Again, this series, like the denouement, where it's basically like, the way this reacted for me was a test of how well I had redeemed Harry. Like, did I do a good job taking this broken bird and fixing him? Yeah,
it's a little bit like the like the psych report that you get at the end of Silent Hill Shattered Memories, but better because it's reflected through characters and meaningful decisions that you made throughout.
Yeah, it wasn't about running through mazes.
Yes.
How did you run through mazes? Were they made of ice? Yes. So they're all real mad at you, and you can find this out as you kind of talk about this. It's because you sent them away.
Right.
They've had some other cases where you've sent them away, told them they were cramping your style. Like, this was a lot about me figuring out my complicitness in this. Like, there's a part where you can say, like, hey, you didn't come for me when you found out I was shot. And they're like, you don't want us to come for you.
Right.
Like, you yell at us and throw things at us. Like, when do we do that? Like, this is on you.
Yeah. Jean here. So it's Jean, Trant, and Judith, who we have all seen before. Jean is tough love in this, no matter what, no matter how good you were. He can, he'll say like, oh yeah, we're your task force, you dick, or what's left of it. It's a major crimes division. It's like The Wire.
Yep.
I, of course, blame it on the 2mm hole in the world because I'm cop of the apocalypse. He says, no, it's the 20cm hole in your brain, you fucking lush.
Yeah. Yeah, I played this pretty straight. You know, I mentioned the Phasmin at some point. It was really good that I had the picture again for that. And Trant pops up. He's on the reason why he's been there is because he's a neurology consultant. And he mentions, and this is something I'm very sympathetic to, obviously. What has happened to you is this absolutely normal reaction to the world we're living in. Look at the sensory input here. Look at the ruins, the neon, listen to the radio, the multitudes, the people. Live here for 40 years. As a police detective, he's like a magnetic reader on the world tape. Harry's just been pushed flat against it. Total input, hardwired to the free market. He just needed for it to end.
I'm sympathetic to that, but also it's Trant delivering it. And
yeah.
No, I thought that was more of a joke. Like it is thematically appropriate. It's thematically super on point, but also it is not like, you know, something that is not a read that a police department should take into account when they are evaluating someone's performance, let's say. It's resonant
not.
but not functional. Yeah.
It's just an idea that I happen to agree with.
Yes.
That, like, you know, it's a miracle anyone stays sane.
Right.
You know, Jean, your partner, I ended up having some sympathy for him during this. Like, he starts talking about things you fucked up on.
Yeah.
I lost Claude, and he yells at me about that. He told, you know, the people who were lost in the shootout. And I was like, yeah, but, you know, it would have been way worse. And Kim, because I had done a good job, steps in and defends me. Like, you know, he has not been drinking. You know, he's got unusual methods, but he's actually the best detective I've ever seen.
Yeah. He was worried about my apocalypse fixation and my communism, but.
Yep. Yeah. You know, you kind of mentioned that, hey, like, we actually solved the case. You know, at this point he talks about you know, losing. I was like, no, I got my badge back and everything. At one point he's like, you lost your gun, and I said, oh, I did, but look, I upgraded to a rifle. And which it's a better gun, which was like my one, like, not being straight laced during this, and was pretty funny.
That's good.
To me.
Yeah. Kim points out the Phasmid. I like that quite a bit. You know, saying like, yeah, it's related to the case, but also like this is going to be a huge PR win. The fact that that us working with these cryptozoologists, you know, it's going to really be a feather in the RCP's cap.
Yeah. We discovered a Bigfoot. We have proof of a Bigfoot. You know, you can ask them questions about your past and kind of learn about what happened. Like, you are a former gym teacher. That's why the stuff in the gym had relevance. And you talk about this woman who broke your heart 6 years ago. Her name was Dora. You weren't married, but it destroyed you.
Yeah.
Like, you've never recovered from it.
Yeah. And they even say,
Not
like,
even close.
it was crazy that she was sleeping with you given how hot she was.
Yeah. And it's amazing you even, you know, like, you absolutely did not come back from that.
Right.
You know, you're not a mob thug. Right.
You're too unreliable for that.
Yeah. And we're like, well, we need to tell Lena about the Phasmin. They're like, we can do that. Kim says he's going to go back, you know, and they all respect Kim. Like, he's a well-known detective there. He's going to write up a report, you know, talking about how we basically stopped a war and something bad is going to happen to Revachol. And I ended up recruiting him into the 41st. You can also recruit Kuno as kind of like a junior detective. Yeah. Which is a little silly. There's not like quite enough Kuno content to make me think he'd be a good detective, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, it gives him something to do outside of, you know, being around Kuno S. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, the other thing, you can get a lot of insight into John during this, in that, like, he is also has these problems. Like, he is an intense depressive. Yeah. Like, he's the contrast for you. He's the version of the cop who is just the product of the job without the secret Harry sauce that, like, you know, turns you into super detective. You know, he's depressed. He's a good cop. He's really depressed because it's a hard job, and being any kind of magnetic tape for the world is going to make you worse for wear.
Just like exposure to the pale, exposure to unreality breaks people in a particular way. Too much exposure to reality also breaks people in a particular way.
Yeah. So
yeah, I end up liking like Jean is a very fun character, specifically because he is so hostile, but ultimately, like, he's on your side. You know, like, he's not here to upbraid you and say, like, oh, you're off the force. It's like, no, like, we have to, like, this is just another one of your messes that we have to clean up. Ultimately, they all respect you in a way that the earlier phone call did not show. But like, you know, when they called you Super Cop, when they, you know, I forget the name, Harry Mullins or whatever, when they called you Harry Mullins, it was true.
Dick Mullins.
Dick Mullins. There we go. When they called you Dick Mullins, it was true. Like, that was their opinion of you because you were a super cop. You know, your stats didn't lie, but also their opinion of you doesn't lie. It's just you've made things difficult because your behavior is unacceptable. But they love you, you know?
Yeah, you contain those multitudes.
Yeah.
You know, a person, this kind of animal, is all of that good and all of that bad.
Yeah.
You know? That is a good message.
Yeah.
And it ends with you going back, you know, to the Force with Kim. You know, I was going to join, you know, I had that Project Searchlight thought in my cabinet. So in my head canon, that's what Harry goes and does, is go do unequivocal good.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned in the first episode, weirdly, the only possible way you could make a pro cop game in 2020 is to do this, because the idea of just like, yeah, I help people is still a resonant idea, you know, regardless of whether it's tied up with institutions that are horrendously corrupt and
dangerous,
probably not redeemable.
Right. So for me, you know, like just the last line was an esprit de corps check that, you know, listening in on the captain at the you know, department, you know, talking about me, saying like, yeah, you know, ultimately I don't worry about his instability because, you know, it's not really a problem, because when the chips are down, I know that I'll side with the people. Like, he is going to, he is ultimately going to be on the side of right. Yeah.
You are a loose cannon, but
you get results.
It is a game that is playing with those cop cliches on purpose. You know, the DNA of them saying their original game they wanted to make, which was the buddy cop thing, there's a lot of that still remains in this. It's just so earned and good that like it doesn't come off as a dumb cliche.
No. It's covered a lot of ground to get there, and it can be emotionally resonant. Even if out of context at the end of a 6-hour podcast series, it does sound cheesy.
Yeah. This won't be like as fun an episode for somebody who hasn't experienced it. And I was trying to think of what it is about this game. Like when in the Slack, no one would believe that somebody else didn't get a thing. So really? Like somebody would be like, oh, I did this. And somebody would be like, oh, whoa. And someone would be like, oh yeah, I didn't see that. And someone else would be like, what? Really? And I was trying to figure out what it is about Disco Elysium that makes people have that reaction, right? Like, it is a game about die rolls. Of course, there are things that are going to be, you know, you're not going to see.
Right.
But everybody, it's comes from this, like, this place of everyone wants everyone to see the goodness of this that they've seen. You know, like, and that's kind of what this podcast has been, at least in part, is, for me, has been exercising this and expressing, like, man, you see this shit?
Yeah.
Like, you know, this is real good. I want people to have that experience.
Yeah.
You know, even and the things that like I saw that you didn't see, like, I'm just like, man, this is fucking exciting. And the stuff that you saw that I didn't see, I was like, man, I wish I had seen that.
Yeah.
It just feels like it is all essential and mandatory in a way that is just, I know I keep saying this, but exceedingly rare.
Yeah.
In games.
You know, just like, you know, you it's hard to believe that somebody else didn't see something, because your result that you got, even though it is up to, you know, choices that you have made in the game, either through build or through, you know, what you had, you know, chosen to investigate, etc. You know, even though it is, you know, not entirely deterministic, it feels true. It feels like it can't be subtracted.
Yeah.
It feels like it can't be subtracted or substituted.
There aren't very many parts of this I think you could take away.
Yeah.
Which is one of those definitions of perfection. Like, I don't think this is quite perfect. There are a couple of things that I think are like mildly less than, but there are not very many things that I would take from it.
Yeah. Same. There's one final, just I didn't make the observation or the connection at the point where I wanted to, but the idea that without the Insulidian Phasmid around, the deserter, you know, ends up becoming catatonic. I really like that from like a symbolic or, you know, kind of like faith or cosmic kind of level. Just the idea that you know, a purely ideological actor and, you know, and an actor who is purely, you know, obsessed with humanity being separated from each other, the ideology loses, whereas the humanity continues. Right.
Yeah.
You know, that when like when you separate those, one goes away. I think that is a very potent and understated kind of moral that is shown here.
Yeah.
That one prevails in the absence of the other, and the other cannot thrive.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, we already spilled all the sugar. I don't know that there's more sugar I have.
No.
This is one of those games where I think that, like, it's going to depend on how much, like, gamer psychographic you share with me, because I can imagine, and I don't think this person is wrong, but I can imagine the person who's just, like, not in the market for this. Like, I just don't want to spend too much time reading. I don't want to read this novel. Like, I want to shoot stuff and play Robotron. Like, I want to, I play games to engage my motorics, as a kind of thing. I don't think that's bad.
No.
I think that if you are somebody who does enjoy story at all, and not just story of, like, the Western, you don't have to, like, torment to like this. I think if you're somebody who is, like, into Night in the Woods, into, Gone Home, into Oxenfree, into any of these, like, narrative focused games, check this out, because it's going to kick you in the crotch.
Yeah.
In a really good way.
Yeah. Somebody who is fascinated with story in games, who, that is their primary concern, shouldn't be afraid of the mechanics in this.
No.
And somebody
you can handle it.
Yeah.
Like, I promise you can handle an isometric perspective. Stop being such a wuss about that. Like, you can move a mouse and make a character move around in it.
Yes.
If it takes you 15 minutes to get used to it, I'm sorry for you, but, like, you can do it. I promise you.
There's going to be so much here for you, and I hope that you trust me when I say that. Simultaneously, somebody who is fascinated with mechanics, who sees, this is a bunch of, this is a lot of story. I don't know if I have the patience for that. I don't know if I have the appetite. Don't be afraid of that, because the mechanics here are inseparable from the actual experience. You are making choices. This is numbers based. And yes, the story is the star here, but it would be so much lesser if they had stripped the mechanics away from it.
100%. Like, this is an object lesson in how to do a narrative forward game.
Yeah.
To me, and make it mechanically interesting and compelling. And the way, like an illustration, the way that a mechanic will give weight to story. The fact that something is in danger or might happen differently based on my input brings me into something in a way that, something entirely passive never will.
Yes.
And this is just, I can't think of a better example for that. It doesn't even have the torment, like, cheat to get past the combat thing. Yeah. But 100% in the Pantheon, like, one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah. It's a miracle.
Absolutely absolutely. You are the miracle. Disco Elysium. I absolutely fucking adore it. And I'm really hoping to have some, like, extra time to play it just for fun a second time. And even if I can't bring myself to be a big buff racist in it, I'll at least try to be big and buff. Yeah. And see what happens if I can punch out Measurehead. So.
You can back out of ideologies too. It's fine. It just takes a skill point.
Yeah. Yep. So, holy shit.
Yeah. Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for giving us the nudge. If you want to sponsor a game, or if you want to support us or do anything like that, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. It is hugely appreciated.
Yeah.
$5 gets you all of our bonus premium episodes, including our next episode on Devil May Cry 1.
Yeah. The 2001 game. I was saying 2003 in the past. That is incorrect. But everybody gets the generalities on those premium episodes, but patrons get to hear the whole thing. And you get to hear all of them. We're coming up on 20 of them right now.
And there's some really good episodes in there.
Yeah. So I agree. I think it's worth it. And also you get other shows. You get Bonfireside Chat Rekindled. You get Unfilmable at that level. If you bump up to $10, you get basically the whole fire hose of all of our bonus content, including Adaptation Decay and all of our premium Abject Sufferings.
All the old ones, the archive. Yes, so $5 gets you the ones as they come out. $10 gets you all the ones that have ever existed.
Yeah.
If you have things to say about Disco Elysium or Devil May Cry, hit us up at duckfeed.tv/contact for our dispatch episode. If you have things to say about next month's games, which are Lords of Magic, Plants vs. Zombies, or the 2018 God of War, hit us up by the 15th of September.
Yeah. And most of all, thank you so much for listening, and we hope to come back next time.
Yeah, we really appreciate you.
Yeah.
What should they watch out for until next time, Cole?
Keep your eye open for Incilium Phasmids, whatever your version of that is. It's there. It's waiting. You can't see it, but it'll talk to you.